Is this thing on? Is it focusing? Is it focusing? Oh, hey. Hey guys, my name is Caleb. I'm a third year, I'm a medical student, and I've taken some time off between my third and fourth year to do research. And in my very limited free time, I've decided to sit down for a couple hours each week and have a conversation with somebody fascinating that I met on this wild, amazing journey that we're all on here if you're watching this. I hope you guys get something from this. It's a very long conversation, but I haven't seen Dr. Nesbitt in 3 years. He is not just my mentor, he's an emergency medicine physician, he's a serial entrepreneur, and part-time movie producer? Yeah, I know. He's had an amazing life, and we talk all about it, and he is my inspiration for the kind of impact that I want to have in a career in medicine. It can be so much bigger than you can possibly imagine, as long as you don't doubt yourself and you have the right mindset, which we talk about at length. And I'm gonna stop yapping and let's just get straight to the episode. All right, guys, later.
All right, Dr. Nesbitt, welcome. Say hello to the people. Everybody, this is Dr. Nesbitt. He's the first person that I wanted to interview for this channel, because without Dr. Nesbitt, I would not be in the position that I am in, and I would not be doing what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it. He really opened up my world of possibilities, helped me see what a career in medicine can look like. It doesn't have to be just going in and practicing every day. You can change lives from multiple different perspectives. And so that's why I wanted to sit down with you in person. We haven't seen each other in what, 3
years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Since I was working as a scribe in the ER. That is where we met. So just tell me a little bit about what you saw in this goofball way back when.
Well, you showed up to work on time. And no, I think what I saw was a lot of myself. A first generation student. And I remember what that is like. But I also saw grit. I saw a lot of intelligence. But of course, intelligence doesn't matter if you don't execute, right? But I saw grit. I saw intelligence. I saw diligence. And I just saw this innate ability to want something. And that matters the most. A person can be like, being smart is just not enough. It's almost as if being smart is just the baseline.
Yeah, everybody in that school.
Yeah, everybody in school, right?
Yeah.
And so
Everybody's got the grades.
everybody's got the grades, everybody got scores. So that cannot be in totality the completion of the story. There has to be something else behind it that drives people forward to success. And I saw that in you. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, this wasn't an opportunity for you to hype me up. Okay. I promise. I didn't invite him here to tell the world how amazing I am. He said you saw a part of yourself in me. So walk me back to where you came from and what led you into medicine.
I come from a very small town. Grew up in this little small town in East Texas, and not a lot of role models around. But what led me to want to be a physician was I've always loved math and I've always loved science. And the other thing is that I lived with my grandmother, and she, at the time, intermittently would get sick. And then she would go to her doctor, and she'd come back and miraculously she'd be better. And as a kid, you're like, oh, that's amazing. Like, she looked terrible. And she goes out and sees this person, and she comes back, and then she looks less terrible. Right? So for me, that was amazing. And I just wanted to know, like, what went on with that and how did that happen?
Right.
Because my grandmother was an incredible inspiration to me, and she is one of several people who helped me get to where I am.
How did she help you?
She instilled an incredible belief in I could accomplish anything that I wanted to. Now she pushed me, right? But what she did as a kid, there were no boundaries in terms of the inability to compete, the inability to do something. If something had to be accomplished, it just had to be accomplished. There was no thinking about what could go wrong or why something couldn't happen. None of that. There was never an excuse made as to why something couldn't be accomplished, only by a relentless focus on getting it done and a relentless encouragement letting me know that I could get it done.
So and how far back do you remember that relationship starting?
Oh, I was raised by my grandmother.
You were raised by your
I was
grandmother?
raised by my grandmother. Yeah.
Okay.
So my parents,
Yeah.
so my parents,
Oh, yeah. Tell me about your parents.
yeah, so my parents, amazing people. My dad, probably the smartest person I ever met. My mother is an incredibly shrewd and incredibly smart woman. And I have an older brother and an older sister. But they were working.
Are you the oldest? Or
I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest.
youngest?
So my parents were working. And what they would do in the morning is they would put me in a bassinet and take me to my grandmother's house. And she stayed maybe a mile from them, maybe a mile and a half. They would put me in the bassinet, drive me to her house, and put me on the front porch, knock on the door, and get in the car and drive off.
What were they doing during the day?
They were working. My parents were working. Yeah, but my grandmother, she was babysitting other people's kids.
Oh, so you weren't just the only one running around the house?
There was like two other kids there.
Okay.
And so it helped to kind of keep her occupied and, kept her active. So they would do this, day after day after day, this little infant, and wait, not to knock on the door, not even wait for her to come to the door. You could do this back then, right? Yeah. But then,
Glad nobody stole you.
yeah, but at some point somebody would steal me. They'd be like, "Hey, take this kid back. Nobody wants this kid." So my grandmother came to my parents one day, and she was like, "Hey, guys, just leave him. Just leave him here."
Wow. Okay.
Because she was like, you guys are doing this, and it's not that they were inconvenienced, but she was just thinking about how she could help make that transition for them easier, right? And because she lived so close, it's not like they were just giving up their kid.
Right.
They would see me and I would see them. Yeah. So I still had the relationship.
Show the relationship. But most of the time you were with your grandmother.
Now, the other thing is that my grandfather recently died. So now she would be living there by herself. So my older brother at that time would come to stay with us as well. So my older brother and then I would be there. And then my older brother is 8 years older than I am. So he graduated from high school, and it was just me and my grandmother. And I stayed with her until I was in the 5th grade. And then I moved back home with my parents. The reason being is because the school that I went to, it was probably, I don't even know if it was 100 yards from the house. So I would just walk to school.
Heck yeah.
Just walk to school.
Ironically, and where was this? Texas?
This is in Texas, yes.
Texas.
So ironically, I would also walk to school, elementary school, from my grandmother's house, George Washington Carver.
Okay.
Elementary school. And we just walk there.
Yeah.
And just walk back home. So I moved back home with my parents in the 5th grade. But those first formative years were so incredibly important for me for all the lessons that she taught me. And when I tell you that I believe I can do anything, I believe I can do anything.
Right. And that made that I saw that because I started working to fast forward, I was working in the ER, and I figured there was something different about working with Dr. Nesbitt. Dr. Nesbitt.
Please just call me Reggie, dude. What are you doing? What are we doing here?
This is Reggie. This is my friend Reggie, everybody. But yeah, I would work with Reggie, and I walked away learning more than I did from anybody else. He was so methodical, or you were so methodical about what you did. You seemed to take your job as being a emergency medicine physician to a different level, very meticulous, very smart. You would answer all my questions. You would humor me and let me ask all these questions. I started to realize that you were doing more than just being a physician. You had a very cool story and you had done so much with your life. And I found myself wanting to work with Dr. Nesbitt as much as possible. And so eventually I started finding out all these amazing, incredible things that I didn't know were possible being a physician. And so, but we'll go backwards. So you have this belief in yourself that you can do anything. You move back with your parents, you've got that. So you're in high school, going to college. When was the decision point for you committing to becoming a doctor? Not just third grade.
Third grade.
Third grade.
Third grade.
Okay. Was that you're from the grandma?
I was in my grandmother's house, and
Yeah.
I was living there, and there was this show called Trapper John MD. It was an amazing show.
I've never heard.
I know you haven't. I know you haven't. It was an 80s show. So there were two shows. It was Trapper John MD and then Quincy. The Quincy was a medical examiner.
Okay.
But that was kind of a detective sort of medical examiner series.
Sure.
Trapper John was just straight up doctor in a hospital.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I
The
loved
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I played that.
some drama, but not as well. I wouldn't say not as salacious because 80s TV was kind of cutting edge.
Really?
Oh yeah, there were things on 80s TV that would not even remotely make it on the airways now.
Now?
100,
You know we have OnlyFans.
sir, 100%. And I'm not talking about cable television.
Right.
About mainstream TV,
Okay.
network television, ABC, CBS, NBC. There were things that were said, situations that went on in 80s TV that would absolutely drive you guys crazy today. Everyone would be canceled. Everyone would be canceled.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
So what about that show?
It was just a cool show.
Okay. About doctors, I'm assuming.
A doctor. His name was Trapper John.
Okay. And you wanted to be like Trapper John.
No, I just wanted to be a doctor. I just wanted to be a doctor.
Okay. So how'd you go about doing that? What was your game plan?
So I just made the decision. This is what I wanted to do. And I remember someone asking me, actually it was my mother, asking me what I wanted to be. And I said, I want to be a doctor. And she was like, okay. All right. Cool.
Okay. You got permission?
Yeah, I got permission, right? But I would have been the first physician in my family. So no guidance. Now there are three of us. There are three of us now. Yeah, in my family. Yes.
Okay. But in your immediate family, had anybody graduated college? Had anybody been anything like a lawyer or anything like that?
So it depends on which side of the family you're talking about.
Okay.
So my father's side, they were mostly skilled laborers, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, tradespeople. On my mother's side, there was a heavy focus and emphasis on going to college. So to your point of teaching, I've always enjoyed teaching because my grandmother spent a great amount of time teaching me. And also my father spent an extraordinary amount of time teaching me.
Okay. So what I'm seeing here is there was the schooling that was getting encouraged.
Oh,
by your mom's influence.
Not even encouraged. It was
mandatory.
Mandatory.
Yeah. But your dad is also teaching you the hard work stuff in the real world, putting your hands on things.
Yeah. So my grandmother gave me belief and structure and a sort of relentless belief in my abilities. And I'll tell you a story about that. What I got from my mother was diligence. Every ounce of every math skill that I have, I got from her. And then from my dad, I got work ethic, entrepreneurial values, and the ability to problem solve.
If we can't do it, if we run into a problem, how can we fix it ourselves?
Not even that. Every problem has a solution. Like there's no such thing as no solution.
So there's nothing you can't do. You've got no excuse for bad grades.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So you're held to that standard,
Yeah.
and you're a problem solver. And so you're looking at this toolbox, you're going, I think we can cook with this.
We can cook.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say that it's unfortunate that people can't choose their parents and their families. And I will say that I am fortunate that I tell people all the time, I kind of won the genetic lottery, in terms of, cognitive abilities and quite frankly, athletic ability as well. But definitely in terms of cognitive ability. And it's just a great combination of environment, my local environment in terms of parents, immediate family, and then sort of the village that I grew up in. Marshall, Texas was a very segregated area. It was a very racialized and segregated area. And I know people throw around sort of racial tones and undertones and thoughts in the conversation but this was like legitimately segregated. And then we're talking about like 1990s, segregated to a point to where there were separate high schools for blacks and whites until.
So we're still dealing with that in Marshall, Texas. And what years?
I graduated in 1993.
1993.
So they were forced to build. There's a great documentary on Marshall, Texas by Bill Moyer. It's actually on YouTube now.
Okay.
But they were forced.
I don't have any studio assistants.
They were actually forced to close the separate schools down and build one high school. So it's the first time a lot of people in the community were seeing each other and interacting with each other, and it went about how you expected it to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did anything from that tension in that time period affect your trajectory at all, your mindset going into college?
It was somewhat helpful because those interactions, so untoward interactions that I had when I got to college, I encountered some of those again. But I was equipped as to how to deal with it because of the lessons that I learned from my mother, my father, and my grandmother. So I took untoward interactions with people as doubt. Oh, you're doubting me. That's cute. I'm going to set the table for you right now. Right? And
how did people doubt you, I guess?
My first day,
if you don't mind answering.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
No, of course. Academically, so my first college course was a biology course, and I go in, I sit down, and a gentleman sits next to me, and he's like, "Oh, you're getting accustomed to talking to different people, and you're in school, and that's what college is about." He says, "Oh, are you an athlete?" I said, No. Oh. I said, no, not at all. I'm not here. Not at all.
Right.
I'm here on a academic scholarship. He says, "Oh, you must be here because of affirmative action." And I said, "Huh." I said, No, not at all.
Yeah. And what college is this?
Texas.
University of Texas.
Yeah, there's Texas. Yep.
Which one is it?
That's Horn. Yeah. I said, yeah, not at all. No problem. Not at all. I didn't have an issue with it, right? Because I was like, okay, well, you're misinformed, and that's okay. I'm okay. Yeah. I am okay with you being misinformed. And now I'm going to crush you. So wow, I'm going to academically crush you to prove the point.
Wait, I apologize. Was this a professor or was this a
student? It's a fellow.
This is a fellow
student. Fellow student.
So you had some enemies, and I mean, not like that you were going to vindictively go out and destroy.
Absolutely not. That's not my MO. But to answer your question is so your question was, how did the things that you encountered in high school affect you going forward? So I encountered several instances like that, and I took that as motivation, and it drove me to great heights, and it drove me to great successes. But then I realized later that your motivation has to be intrinsic and not extrinsic.
Okay, that's interesting. So just tell me more about that. Over the years, I mean, obviously you've done a lot of stuff.
Your desire for any sort of success needs to come from within you and your desire to achieve that success, as opposed to any external factor. Meaning, okay, so you don't think I can do this? Let me prove it to you. Or you doubt that I can accomplish something? Let me show you that I can. And you put all of your energy, successfully I might add, into accomplishing that goal. But the nidus and the stimulus for doing that is something external, as opposed to coming from within yourself, saying, hey, I want to start this business. And you put your energy into that because you desire to do it, as opposed to, I don't think you can do that. Right? And the reason that's important to make that distinction,
Not waiting for permission.
it's not even about
Okay.
it's not even about permission. It's about it's that proverbial chip on your shoulder. And the reason that that's problematic is because if that's what's driving you to success, what happens when you're not getting doubted? What happens when you're not getting slighted? Then what's going to motivate you? Which is why you have to have self-motivation, which is why it has to be intrinsic. Your desire to do something should be solely or mostly, because you're always going to have someone saying what you can't do, or
If
putting,
you're looking for it.
if you're looking for it, or putting their sensibilities on you, right? It should be, your desire should be because you want to, as opposed to, I don't think you can do it. And then you're saying, well, let me prove you wrong. Let me show you.
Okay, so what was so you had this interaction, and that definitely could have went into the extrinsic. Where do you feel like characterize your intrinsic drive?
Well, that extrinsic drive drove me to a 4.0.
Okay.
Okay. It also drove me to,
What was the self-talk? What was the,
it was simply, here we go. You're doubting me. You don't think that I can do something.
Yeah.
Let me show you. Not only let me, and I'm extremely competitive.
oh, so you're telling that to yourself.
To myself.
You are your own
Yeah. So
driver. I see what you, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're doubting me. So let me show
Let me
you.
prove to myself.
No, let me prove to you.
Okay.
Let me show you. And that drove me to a 4.0 GPA. That drove me to the point to where I realized, and where I went to school, there was no such thing as a curve. I didn't understand and know about the concept of a curve until I got to college. On that first biology exam, I got 97. So 3-point curve. And curve? What are you talking about? I asked the professor after class, and he said, well, yeah, we give 3 points because that's the differential. And I said, so what happens if I get 100? He says, there's no curve. Bingo.
You were that guy.
I was that guy. And I was that guy because someone insulted me and then turned on something that was already there. So if that interaction had never happened, I would have done that anyway, but it was extra. That extra extrinsic motivation.
It was the kindling.
Yeah, it was the kindling.
Right.
It actually was the gasoline.
I was gonna say
It was the gasoline.
sounded like it was jet fuel.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
as I got older and I learned the lesson, I would say probably in my 30s. And this is what and I've told you this. You've heard me say this. Like, you can't have extrinsic motivation. It has to come from yourself, right? I learned later on why I needed to stop competing from that lens. Not stop competing, but competing from that vantage point. I will always compete, and I will always believe that I can win. And I've never been a person to win unethically or win at all costs, right? I don't believe in necessary zero-sum games. In order for me to win, you have to lose. I don't think that's craziness, right?
Yeah.
But there's plenty of people that think like that. But what I learned was it can be consuming if you are using extrinsic motivation to achieve your goals. It can be almost exhausting.
You learned. So did you?
I switched.
You switched.
I just switched.
When was
I said,
that?
it was in my 30s. I was in my 30s, dude. And I was
Wow.
like,
Okay.
you know what? I don't need to prove anybody wrong. Like, because if you're not careful, there's a fine, it's almost like it's the Anakin Skywalker thing, right? It's the hand that gets the guy. If it's you've got this ability,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just teetering on that line of dark side,
Yeah.
right? And if for me, it could have easily been like anger development, right?
Yeah.
Like you
You
just
could have been the angry, successful
I
guy.
could have been the angry successful guy. I could have turned into that angry successful guy who was a jerk, right?
Right. Yeah.
And just mistreated people just because I thought, or I could mistreat people because I thought you were doubting me.
Or you create.
Or I created. It's almost like that Michael Jordan thing where he would create things in his mind.
Tom Brady does the same.
Tom
thing,
did, yeah,
right?
same thing, right?
Yeah.
You create these things in your mind, and then you just go out and just drive. But there is a way to just drive without becoming maniacal like that.
Because we're not on the football field. We're not on the basketball court in these careers. We are in the business of helping other people.
Yeah, but still competition, man.
True.
It's competition,
Okay.
right? But you can compete and not be maniacal in the competition.
I respect that.
And that's what and that's what I learned. And once I learned that, it was almost like a self-release,
Mhm.
but it also pushed me to greater heights because I began to see, oh wow, like there's limitless opportunities that and I'm not dependent on someone saying I can't do something in order for me to achieve it. I don't even need that in my repertoire anymore.
Okay. Okay. And just to give everybody context, going back to what I said about paying attention to how you did things in the emergency room, you weren't just treating things, ordering tests that didn't matter, because ER gets a lot of flack.
It does, unnecessarily. It's for those who don't understand.
Yes, and what people don't understand.
What people don't understand is emergency medicine is a very challenging specialty
Mhm.
because you have to have a broad knowledge base.
Mhm.
But more importantly, you have to be able to draw from that broad knowledge base at any point, at any time. Because unlike other facets of medicine, other specialties, or even primary care, you know exactly what you're going to get. If I'm a gynecologist, I know what I'm going to get.
Right.
If I'm a neurologist, I know what I'm going to get. If I'm a surgeon, I know what I'm going to get. If I'm an emergency department physician, I walk into that ED, I have zero idea what's going to walk in those doors.
Mm-hmm. The undifferentiated patient.
Undifferentiated patient. The patient may come in and they may have they have the ability to give a fantastic history and give me everything that I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
That patient may come in unconscious. EMS may bring the patient in and have gotten a completely incorrect history.
Mm-hmm.
That patient may come in and they're just crashing and burning. That patient may come in and not speak the language, not speak English.
And you may not have a translator service.
And you may not have a translator service.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do you flash going, I think we're doing a good timeline.
Okay.
Jump here.
Yeah.
How'd you build that knowledge base starting in med school? Because I found your methods very interesting. They were for studying and for being top of your class in medical school, right? Because it seems like you built you came into college, undergrad, doing very, very well from the beginning. And what was the transition to medical school like? So you went to University of Texas for undergrad. Where did you go for?
University of Texas for medical school.
For medical school as well. And so what was that transition like for you?
I don't think the transition was difficult.
Okay.
I had some very good undergraduate professors. And I took some really challenging courses. And my undergraduate counselor, she was fantastic. My advisor, she was fantastic.
Okay.
She was absolutely fantastic.
So you see, there's a lot of people that don't like their advisors that tell them, "Oh, don't go to medical school. You can't get it. You can't make it."
Again, you should listen to people. So like you can't let people put their limitations on you.
Right.
Right. And I have encountered that in the mentoring of pre-med students where their advisors are not giving them the best advice. And sometimes it can be challenging for the advisor to advise you on something that they've not done themselves.
That's an important nugget. We'll circle back. But this is something that I've found. It's something that you kind of told me to watch out for. But there's one text you sent me a couple of years ago was that I shouldn't. You told me this in the ER, actually. Don't listen to MFers. You put.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
but you don't. Why say many words when few words?
This is true.
Too simple.
This is true.
But it was, and I was like, oh, because I was probably saying like, oh, these people say this, these people say that. I'm reading this, I'm listening to this because I like to suck in all this information.
Mhm.
And you're like, don't listen. Why? Why shouldn't I listen to people that these people are in their roles for a reason? I mean, they are older than me. They're more experienced than me. Maybe they know something. I mean, maybe they're right. What?
No one is right if they're discouraging you from a dream.
Ooh. Okay.
If you believe that if you have a conviction and a desire to achieve something and someone says you can't or you shouldn't, then that's not a person to listen to. Now, that's not to say that a person wouldn't give you constructive criticism.
I like constructive
because we all need that.
Right.
But for someone to objectively tell you that you are incapable of doing something and that person has not done it themselves, that's more of a reflection of them than it is a reflection of you. That doesn't mean that you don't have some shortcomings that you need to shore up. It does not mean that you are immune to constructive criticism. It does not mean that you are immune to feedback. We all need that. But for someone to patently tell you that you can't do something, oh, you don't listen to that. I believe that's what I told you.
That is exactly what you told me. And then whenever I'm getting advice through that filter, that's the filter I use most days when somebody I'm doing something and it's usually something that people don't do all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to do this, and they give me some kind of feedback, or they're like, it was like other medical students at my level who are giving me advice about my future. And then I used to take it very seriously coming to medical school. I'm like, these are very smart people that, they mean well and stuff, they know other people that have been, and I'm like, wait, but they're not doing.
And the other thing is people lie. People lie, and no one likes to think that,
or they like to seem like they're
self-promoters, or they're self-inflated, or they just lie, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you have to, and this is why you have to be careful. Like, you can learn from everybody, you can learn something from everybody.
That's huge.
But what you learn matters. So that's where it goes back into the belief of the belief in you, and not having someone tell you what you can or cannot do. So this goes back to my grandmother.
It always goes back to grandma.
So I graduated. So I went to a very unique preschool. It's called University Kitty College.
Oh, this goes back to preschool.
Yeah, preschool.
University preschool. University.
It was called University Kitty College because it was on University Street. But it was not your typical preschool where someone would just come in, plop you down, get you some snacks, and go to sleep or play some games.
They had you guys running drills.
They had us reading books. They had us doing art.
No.
Yeah. They had us doing, yeah. Oh, absolutely. We were reading. We were writing. We were doing art. We were doing music. We took naps. We played. But it was structured. It was very academic because the person who owned it was a former teacher, and she was known in the community. So people sent their kids there, right? And it was time to graduate from University Kitty College. And Mrs. Thompson, there's a lot of women in my life who've been very influential. My grandmother's one, Mrs. Thompson was another one.
Okay.
I went to my grandmother, and
this is a great memory too, by the way.
Oh, it's fantastic. She said, she came to my house, I remember. And she said, Miss Warren, she says, I want Reginald to speak at the graduation.
How old? I was like 4 or 5.
5. Yes.
You're barely talking.
No, I was talking, babe. Slick talking, babe. Don't do that. No, but she says, I want Reginald to speak at the graduation. Now, my grandmother could have done one of two things. She could have said, okay. Or she could have said, he's too young. He can't do that. What do you think she did?
She said, all right.
She says, okay. She says, what do you want him to say? She says, I have a speech for him that I've written. And my grandmother was like, okay, do you have it? She says, yes. And she pulled it out and she said, now it's 5 pages. And my grandmother was like,
one for every year of your age.
Right. My grandmother was like, okay, no problem. She says, do you think he can do it? And my grandmother was like, absolutely he can. And she said to her, she says, and you think he can do it too, otherwise you wouldn't have asked. And I was listening and I heard that. And you're young, but it's funny the things that you remember. And she says, when is the graduation? And she was like, it's going to be in 3 weeks. She says, he'll have it done by the end of the week. Says, okay. So my grandmother came to me and she says, okay, Reggie, Ms. Thompson wants you to say the speech. This is the speech. It's 5 pages. And then we're going to break this down. We're going to have this done in 7 days. I was like, okay. And notice how she approached it. She approached it with a tone of positivity. She approached it with a tone of certainty. And that certainty was, this is what you need to do. This is the timeline. And we're going to do it. There was no wiggle room of, I'm not sure if you can. Do you think you can do? None of that. She was just like, this is what you go do. This is what's going to get done. And this one.
And you don't know any better. You're like, well, I just, okay. What do we, I guess I
just said, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And she said,
okay,
well, and she took it and we said, we're going to learn a paragraph a day.
Right.
We're going to learn a paragraph. She said a paragraph a day, but then she was like, oh, there's too many paragraphs, bro. So then she was like, we're going to learn a page a day, but we're going to start out with a paragraph. We're going to learn a paragraph an hour. And she says, you're going to read it. I'm going to read it to you first. You're going to listen. Then you're going to read it. And I'm going to take it away. And then we're going to start telling me, you're going to recite the sentences.
Okay.
And an hour, first paragraph.
Right.
Second hour, second paragraph. And then she had me do both paragraphs. And then end of the day, the entire first page is done.
So you take that. Amazing, by the way. I'm sure you killed it. I wish I could see this video.
I've got actual newspaper clippings of it.
I wish I had the audio podcasts of you.
In 1980, like 1980.
Graduating class in 1980. Well, his name's Reginald Nesbitt. So you take that into consideration when you're older and you're getting told, if you're ever getting told that you can't do certain things, you're like, that's not what I'm used to.
That's exactly right. That's not what I'm accustomed to. What do you like? And it dumbfounded me the first time I heard it. Like, what are you talking about? What are you saying to me?
Yeah.
Huh? I don't understand that. But yeah, that was instrumental. But what was also equally instrumental is preparedness and structure. And she helped me at a very early age learn structure and how to prepare for something and how to be diligent with something. And I would just be walking through our tiny little 645 square foot house that we lived in.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, paragraph 2, page 3. Give it to me. Boom. Okay, cool.
What if you got it wrong?
There was no getting it wrong.
Oh.
There was no getting it wrong. Like, that's not how she rolled.
Okay.
Because what's the point of doing the structured practice if you're going to turn around and get it wrong?
Right.
What's the point of studying if you're not going to perform on the test?
Not all kids are like that, though.
Well, not all kids are raised like that.
Oh.
Not all kids are given not all kids are given that manner of learning. Not all kids are given that structure. Not all kids are given that singular belief in themselves. Like, what's the point? What's the point of I play basketball? What's the point of playing? What's the point in practice if you're not willing to get in the game and take the shot?
We'll get into that. Yeah.
Okay. What's the point in studying if I don't intend to go to med school?
So you're a very intense medical student, I'm assuming.
I was intentional about my learning. But I also taught my fellow students.
Okay, so let's walk it back. University of Texas Med School. You're on a mission to prove to yourself that you can do this. You have no doubt in yourself that you can accomplish what you want. And then you're going into med school. What are your goals? Do you know what field you're interested in or where you're aiming?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I went to school to be a thoracic surgeon.
Okay. But you're an emergency medicine physician.
Absolutely.
Okay. So with the mindset of wanting to be a future cardiothoracic pediatric surgeon,
that's like 5 residency years named. I was not doing 5 residency.
well, there's those intense individuals, right? And I came into med school. I wanted to be one of the things I was like between emergency medicine, orthopedic surgery. I knew orthopedic surgery was very intense. One of my buddies wanted to be a neurosurgeon. And my other buddy was thinking about thoracic surgery. So there was like this intense focus. So I was assuming you were holding yourself to a higher standard.
I held myself to my own standards. My standards were A's, but not just any A. My standard that I held myself to was mastery.
Clinical mastery.
Just complete mastery of your subject. And
how does somebody for anybody med students that may have stumbled upon this video, how would you recommend they initiate that mindset in practical ways? Because we don't do textbooks these days.
You should.
Yeah,
you should.
Well,
you should.
We don't have.
You do.
People aren't reading textbooks.
Now, see that therein lies. There's the fallacy, my friend. There's a difference between we don't have textbooks and people aren't reading textbooks. That's the difference. So your question is, how do you develop that mindset? My mother developed that mindset in me. So when we talk about mastery, my own standards is 100%. Like if it's a test, and first of all, we're not studying. Nobody should be studying for tests. You shouldn't be studying for boards. You're studying for mastery.
Whoa. How? But the boards are very important.
I didn't say they were important. But what I'm saying is if you're going into medicine, you're not studying to pass your test. You're not studying for tests. And I use the word pass loosely. Pass for me means 100. If you're not studying for tests, boards, any of that, you're studying for the future patients that you're going to be taking care of.
So that was your mindset.
Yeah. Like we want to be doctors, right?
Right. No.
But you want to be a doctor, then being a doctor is not being able to answer a question on an exam, whether it be a clinical exam, a board, USMLE. That's not it. The ultimate examination is the patient and the ability to take what you have learned and extract it from what the patient is saying, run through your differential, have your diagnostics and your therapeutics, and arrive at the appropriate clinical conclusion. That's why you're studying.
So how do you feel like that, going back to current day, how do you think that has elevated you as a physician in your abilities? Because I know you believe you hold yourself to a high standard as a physician, versus I don't want to poo-poo on anybody.
Not enough to poo-poo on people.
But once I've seen a lack of that in emergency medicine and other specialties. I want to go ahead and say, this is a rampant issue in any specialty. You have good physicians, you have bad physicians, you have good lawyers, bad lawyers.
Absolutely. There are always levels to everything you do.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of where you place yourself. So you asked me, here's how I got here. I'm telling you exactly how I got here.
Okay.
Here's my mother's story. I was in the 6th grade because I had moved home. I took an English class, came home, and in 97, they were meticulous about giving that report card. And she was looking, and then she was like, oh. You know, I'm thinking like, yo, I got A, what's up, you know? Getting ready to get my attaboy. My mom, oh, this is what happened here? I said, what do you mean what happened here? I guess a 97. She says, I see that. She says, I'm very well versed in mathematics and arithmetic is what this is, sir. She says, but this is a 97. I said, yeah, it's an A. As indignant as I could, say it with my full chest. And she says, it is an A. She says, but it's 97. I say, yeah, but that's an A. She says, yeah, but you owe me 3 points. I said, what? She says, because if you could have gotten a 97, you could have gotten 100.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
You could have gotten 100.
So that's where your head's at. Getting into college, high school, college. There's just that holding that standard for yourself.
Standard.
How'd you get there? Like practically speaking, whatever tools were at your disposal at the time, you're sitting down, med school Nesbitt, studying for your exam. You want to master it.
Concepts.
Period,
point blank, end of story. There's an inordinate, voluminous amount of information that you have to learn in medicine, in a medical school. We didn't even got into residency, right? There's an inordinate amount of information that you have to learn. And if you study the way you studied in college, it will not serve you well unless you studied conceptually in college,
right?
Which is what I did.
See, I kind of came into it late, as you probably know. I came in with A's, B's, C's until I decided I want to go to med school. And I realized 2 C's on these first 2 bio exams are not going to cut it. I have to study. I learned how to study. And when I saw that 103 with the extra credit on my next exam, I walked out of there. I was the first one to leave that exam. I was on cloud. I was like, anything is possible.
There you go.
Yes. You unlock the ability. And so I thought that I could roll into med school. That's where the problem came in. I thought I could roll into med school with the same tactics that got me my hundreds in.
And that's one of the fundamental issues with being first generation. And which is why I spend so much time mentoring first generation students. It's easy when you are what I call legacy students. So legacy students, I have my father's a physician, my mom's a physician, somebody's a doctor somewhere in the family. So they've seen it, they understood the commitment, they know what it takes, they've been talked about it, they've seen the life, they know all these things. So it's an easier transition. But when you were first at anything, I don't care if you're first generation student or you're first in an entrepreneurial venture doing something that hasn't been reasonably done before. I'm just saying, like, there are mistakes and travails on that path to excellence. So for me, all those little lessons that I got growing up led me into where I got to med school, and I fortunately did not make some of the same mistakes that I tried to mentor out of other people.
What are those mistakes?
Well,
you see, like you saw, like you listened to me.
Yep.
And you gave me a lot of useful tidbits and stuff that I came into med school with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder.
Amen.
Because I started reading the textbooks. I even my roommate and one of my best friends, we were studying antibiotics differently. We were studying for micro differently. Like he was much more, I'm just going to run through these flashcards and beam them in my brain. And I was like, I want to deeply understand the concepts. Okay? You don't understand. We're going to be doctors. And then he would wipe the floor with me in the grades. And he's like, how's that going for you? Like, so what are these mistakes that you see people making? And because obviously I was not applying my concept.
The number one thing is the missed application of what concepts are. Because mastery is about retention and usability. You have to be able to use the information that you mastered. But in order to master it, you have to fundamentally understand the concepts. And the best way to know that you've understood the concepts is if you could teach someone else.
It sounds like you did that.
100%.
How did you do that in med school?
I got a first opportunity. So my grandmother, I got a lot of teaching from my grandmother, a lot of teaching from my father, a lot of teaching from my mother. And that sort of, and I enjoy teaching. I love to teach.
Yeah.
So I got that from them inherently. And then as an undergrad, I taught an anatomy and physiology lab as an undergrad. And that was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I got to tutor in organic chemistry in undergrad and watching the light bulb.
Yeah, my professor came to me, Dr. Prabhakaran, I'll never forget him.
Yeah.
He came to me and he was like, "Hey, you wanna teach the lab?" And I was like the TA teach, like the graduate student? He was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "Yes." Why, yes, I do.
Challenge accepted.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Why, yes, I do.
Yes.
And that was an outstanding and excellent experience.
And again, that's where your grandma.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a question at that point in your life. It wasn't even a question for, can I do this?
Yeah.
This is about, I've never wow, graduate people. That wasn't even a thought for you.
Yeah.
It was like
opportunity.
Interesting challenge.
Let's do it.
Opportunity.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there's something there about translating new things that are coming in, like new opportunities that are being thrown your way, and not looking at the negative.
Well, yes. So that's point number 2. So first point is concepts. Second point is the elimination of fear and doubt. They have zero place in learning anything.
Especially medicine.
But it doesn't matter. No matter what you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
Fear and doubt have zero place because your mindset informs how you will perform. And if you're trying to perform learning, if you're trying to perform doing, doesn't matter. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that is one of the main things that I see in first generation students is that doubt. First time to do it, I'm doing this on my own. And I feel like I have to do this on my own. That's another mistake. I feel like I have to do all of this by myself. That is a fool's errand.
I think so. I think this is perfect because mentorship for me has become kind of my default.
Okay.
Whereas I used to think I have to figure this out by myself. Nobody in my family is a doctor. I have a family member in anesthesia, but nobody's done this before. I got to figure it out. Pre-med, I've just inhaled YouTube videos, how to get into med school. I found a job at an ER. Okay. And then I started just being myself around you, sharing with you the struggles. But I will say, and I think a lot of medical students, a lot of pre-med students feel this way, is you start feeling like, or you assume that you're a burden being around because you don't add a lot to what you're doing. Like your role as a scribe is adding a lot of value. But you make that transition to medical school, you start going to your rotations, you feel like a burden. And a lot of people they'll feel like a burden if they ask for help. But I would say to people want to help you a lot more. We talked about this earlier today. People want to help you more than you think. And not everybody is going to give you the same, I guess, like what you give to me is you give me permission to ask all the dumb questions. I'm like, hey, I'm going through this. I don't know what to do. And so how would you advise medical students or pre-med students or college students when they're feeling stuck or they're feeling lost to get help from ask?
Just got to ask. And that's the biggest thing. You have to ask. Now, You want to make sure you're asking the right people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you also have to make sure that you don't get discouraged by the answers that you get, assuming that someone is not telling you that you can't do something, right? If you're getting good quality advice, if you're getting good sage advice, you can't be offended, right? You have the ability to accept constructive criticism is a skill. It is a skill. It's not personal.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone who's helping you is going to identify a blind spot. They're going to identify a shortcoming. That's okay.
Okay, so what do I look for? What do you look for in a mentor so that what's your filter so that you know when it's good feedback or this person could be helpful or if it's a waste of time?
Well, a good mentor is always going to give you good feedback. A good mentor is not going to sell you short. A good mentor is going to be encouraging, but a good mentor is also going to identify your blind spots. A good mentor is going to tell you what you need to hear and not necessarily what you want to hear. That's important.
Okay.
But there's a difference between a sponsor and a mentor. A mentor is
Talk about that.
all right. So a mentor is someone that's going to help you get to where going to help you along and get you where you need to be. A sponsor is going to speak on your behalf when you're not even in the room. They're going to promote you, right? They're going to promote you to positions in a way that a mentor may not necessarily do. You go to the mentor for blind spot management, for encouragement, for for constructive criticism, how to get along how to move along the path to where you're trying to get to.
Right.
A sponsor will look at you, recognize all of that, and will speak on your behalf in a way that promotes you to where you need to be. And oftentimes in situations that you're not even thinking about things that could be potential for you.
Right. And and I think you do both those things very well, right? It's not an either or for you. There have been situations where right now you're a mentor for me. You are a blind spot checker. But I assume you came through on that letter of recommendation.
I did. I did.
I've never gotten to read it because that's just how it is. You send it off. It's blind. And next thing I know, I got offered interviews for every single DO program that I applied to. I could only afford to apply to 14 schools. And I got interviews offered. And I got accepted from 2 out of 7 DO programs. MV programs, MCAT scores. Numbers are numbers, and my MCAT score was not great. So but I didn't even, that's not to say I wouldn't have gotten in or accepted to the other schools. But I only needed a couple accepted.
You only need one.
Right. You told me that. Yeah,
you only need one, my friend.
Right.
You only need one.
Yes. And I assume that your letter had some impact because my lack of research, my average grades, didn't help me, but my experiences, my personal statement, and I'm assuming my letters really backed a punch.
I mean, I'm not going to take all the credit.
Sure. I'm not saying to, yeah.
Did it help? Sure, it helped. But you still had to interview.
Well, tell me what I did well during our time together working in the ER. Was a year and a half, I think. And this is not to hype Caleb up.
This is the Caleb hype train.
This is the Caleb hype train. He's still cool. I'm such a cool guy. But what did as a student do well to earn a glowing letter of recommendation versus that generic? Because I've advised people not to pursue letters of recommendation if they've only spent a week or two hanging out in clinic.
100.
Especially if they're in clinic and they don't seem that interested.
That's right.
They're kind of there to check a box.
This is right.
And they tell me that, and I say, how long have you been with this person? A week or two? I wouldn't waste your bullets. So how do you not waste your your bullet? How do you make the most of your time shadowing, working in the ER when you're on rotations in your third year, trying to make an impact, get those letters?
You make an impression, right? You're there to, it goes back to why you're there. You're there for mastery. If you're there for mastery, then the performance will follow. If the performance will follow, the work ethic will follow. That will get noticed, right? But it's also about, like, do you fundamentally understand the patients that you're taking care of? And also, do you fundamentally care about the patients that you're taking care of? Because if you really care about the people that you're taking care of, you'll perform.
You cared about people that you're taking care of?
I did. Wow. Yeah, I cared about them. They're people.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
well, I know you were, but so we joke, but we both have been on rotations in which the patient in that bed was not a person, but a disease.
Yeah.
So you have to treat people like people and not diseases, because people have diseases, but diseases don't have people. So if you genuinely care about that person's well-being, you don't even have to know that person. You don't have to know that person. But what I do know is that person is in this bed, in this hospital with some ailment, and we have a relationship. The patient and I have, as a student, we have a relationship. People think about the physician-patient relationship, but you have a student-patient relationship, because that patient realizes that they're in an academic center. And you have to think about the positions of humility that they have to put themselves in, because they recognize that they're in a very vulnerable position, because they're helping further the education of hundreds of people. And hundreds of people come in and out of their room, touching, prodding, looking, examining, asking questions, getting in their personal business. They have to share information with them that they would not share with them if they saw them in Target.
So have there been students where you've seen that they don't get it? You're like,
Of course,
they're going to struggle.
they don't get what? Tell me, what do you mean?
They just don't get that patient relationship.
Yeah, because they treat them like a disease. And then
How so?
Well, they treat them like a disease because they're there to just specifically learn, oh, this patient has cholecystitis. Therefore, it becomes, what is cholecystitis? What are the tests that need to be done? What are the antibiotics that need to use it? When are we going to take this patient to the OR? Oh, this is a cool surgery. This is what we're doing with this. Oh, we're doing this laparoscopically. This is where the trocars go.
Have you ever had to tell a student that? Do you tell students that, hey, you're not treating these people. You're treating these people like a disease.
Yes.
How do they take that?
Sometimes they get dumbfounded. Like, what do you mean? Like, some person in the bed, yo. There's a person that's there.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not. And I did it as a medical student, because I would hear things from fellow students and residents and attendings and nurses and everybody else. I would hear things, and I would like, this is what we're doing? Like, really? Or people's bias. And we all have biases, but our biases would creep in. We would make assumptions about patients, right? And when you let bias creep in and you make assumptions about people, or forget people, patients,
Yeah.
you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake because you're not using your mind's objective eye, right? So I've seen and heard so much, just like, gosh, wow, people are really terrible. So you're just an awful human being, right? But you try to have those conversations with people because it takes courage to do so. Otherwise, you could just sit there and eat it.
Yeah.
Right. But I would just give people perspective that they may not have had, because academic centers, you're a med student, you know the patient population the academic centers take care of,
Right.
right? And
And you being an emergency physician, that's extremely crucial.
extremely crucial.
It's the most crucial thing is to have a level of empathy.
Yes.
Treat the other. This is how I've put myself the way I do it on every rotation is you are me. You are me, a different version of me in a different, meat sack, having the worst day of your life
Absolutely.
in recent history, or one of the worst days of your life, or a reoccurring problem.
Particularly in the ER.
Exactly.
Particularly in the ER. And so I give people a lot of grace. But that's not to say that people have not said crazy things to me and I've had to say crazy things back to them. Because while I have empathy, I also have
Respect and boundaries.
That's exactly right. I respect them boundaries. And they shall not be crossed. They shall not be crossed. But in general, I try to meet people where they are because you don't know people's circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that level of empathy for people, that makes you a better physician. Makes you a better physician. I don't care if you're a surgeon. I don't care if you're internal medicine. I don't care for pediatrics. It doesn't matter. It makes you a better physician, and it helps you make better decisions. And better decisions.
Can you cultivate? Have you seen people bounce back? Have you seen people bounce back from not having that empathy, from treating everybody like a
human?
Yeah.
Have I seen people not bounce? Oh no, no. Yes, of course I have.
Yeah.
And they just are miserable human beings. But they don't. Not only do they not treat the patients well, they don't treat their colleagues well. They don't treat the nursing staff well. They don't even treat their family. They don't treat their spouses well. Their children well. They're miserable human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know them.
Yes. So holding yourself to a higher standard, treat people with empathy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Important. And we were talking about mentorship.
Yeah.
And so what you saw in me, did you see that empathy?
Yeah, because I saw that empathy in you.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw there's a little bit of defiance in you, which was kind of interesting, which is good.
How so?
I saw your chip, and I know a good chip when I see one because I had one for so long. I had a boulder. So I recognize that, and that's okay. But I also saw, I saw all the good things, all of your great attributes, but I also saw the things that could probably get you off the path. So my job was to help you, was to sort of jettison those negative characteristics that were there because I recognized them because I had them.
Okay, so let's dissect the Caleb cadaver here.
Okay.
What were some of those traits that you saw that might have been problematic? Might still be problematic.
I think the chip was probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
You also had the need to prove people wrong. You had that need. But ironically, you also listen to other people, which is those things are diametrically opposed. The need to prove somebody wrong, but I'm still listening to all the chatter, which is crazy. I always found that interesting. I was like, how are you able to have those two things coexist? And I was like, that's just the weirdest thing. That's how we got to stop listening to motherfuckers. I would rather you have the chip than you to listen to people because, like I said earlier, people will prop themselves up. People will lie.
Well, I remember if we're talking about the kind of theme is first gen students and you helping a student like me navigate this world, I looked at every doctor as so much bigger than they were just so much smarter, so much wiser, and everybody was worth listening to.
And that was the other thing. And that was one of the.
But I still had to prove to every physician that I worked with in the ER, at least at that time, that I was useful and I was going to get where I wanted to go so that they felt confident in me.
And that was the other thing.
Yeah.
And what I would encourage, and I think And I think I said this to you. I said, dude, like, these people aren't any smarter than you are. They're just where you want to be. Like, there's no difference between you and that person. In fact, I think you're smarter than that person. It's just that that person has arrived at the destination that you want to get to.
I don't think a lot of people hear that early enough.
No, these people, look, I'll tell you something, bro. I saw Barack Obama talking to a group of students.
I've heard this.
Okay.
I've heard this.
And I love this because when I saw this, I 100% agreed with what he was saying because I've said the same, because I've experienced the same thing.
Right.
And I said the same thing and I teach the absolute same thing. Sorry. He was talking to a group of young men and he basically said, you know what, you when you're not exposed and you don't know, you'll look at people who are in positions of power, people who are in positions of authority, and you think that they are just so much smarter and so much more gifted and so much better than you are. And you're just in awe of these people. He says, and then you get in a room with them, and then you realize,
oh, there's nothing different about you, guys.
Yeah, you're not that smart. Like, you've been given opportunity, right? You've been given a leg up, right? But like inherently, like you're really, you're not that smart. And here's what he said. He said they're fools in college. He said they're fools in government. They're fools in corporation. But he also said there's some very smart people in college. There's some very smart people in government, and there's some very smart people in corporations, right? Those two things exist. But never put yourself in a position to where you think that you are intellectually subservient to somebody else. Because you're not. The difference may be that person is just where you want to go, right? The difference is that person may have had opportunities that you probably have not had an opportunity for. The difference may be that person may have had exposure to things just because of the environments that they've been in and you've not had them. But that doesn't make you intellectually inferior. That may make you underexposed. Right?
So what exposed you? Let's keep your life story going on that note, because I imagine you ultimately did not become a thoracic surgeon.
I did not.
Real quick, what was the decision?
I hated the OR. It was cold.
That's right.
Yeah. It was absolutely cold in the OR. I didn't enjoy some of the people I was working with. I didn't enjoy some of the personalities. I didn't enjoy how the patients were treated, right? But I also didn't enjoy the patient follow-up, right? I legit figured out really quickly, I don't want to be on call. I don't want to be in clinic. I have no interest in any of your non-compliance and none of your I wanted no parts of any of that.
Right.
What I did find interesting was the disease process, the ability to help people, and the ability to do procedures. So what landed me in emergency medicine is...
Yeah, because it sounds like internal medicine was also...
Oh my God, internal medicine was fantastic. I love internal medicine.
Yeah, so the way I see you is an internal medicine doctor. This is how I explain it to people. And Dr. Nesbitt's an internal medicine doctor playing emergency medicine.
I am because it is rigor. It is nerddom, and I'm a complete nerd, right?
Yeah.
But I love the surgical stuff because you get your procedures. But I loved every single rotation I did, and that was problematic for me. I was on OB. I was like, I can do this.
Except for OB, did not.
I enjoyed OB. I was like, I'm on ortho. I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm in cardiology. Definitely can do this. But what I realized is I loved them all, but I didn't love them all individually enough to do that one thing. And there were aspects of each that as I projected out and looked at my life, and at this point, I only thought about being a clinician.
That's right. We'll have to get into that.
Yeah, I was only thinking about being a clinician at that point. And I projected, and I was like, okay, can I see myself doing this at 45? Right? Is this going to give me what I really desire at 45?
What did you desire at the time? What did you know? What were you thinking?
I didn't want to be on call.
Right.
I didn't want to be in a clinic. I knew those things. I didn't want to be on call, and I didn't want to be in a clinic. And I didn't want to do just one singular thing. But then that's where the struggle with internal medicine came, because it was very, 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 very broad. And I love that. I said, the depth of knowledge that you have to have in order to be a good IM doc is amazingly fast.
It's a lifelong process.
It is. And I am a lifelong learner, and I enjoy it so much. But the problem was I'd have to have a clinic. I have to, because at that time, hospitalists didn't exist. But even if hospitalists had, knowing what I know, I still would have landed in emergency medicine, because it allowed me to do every single thing that I wanted to do from an intellectual standpoint, and allowed me to get the coolest procedures that I would want to do. It allowed me to have sort of an immediacy in terms of treating and watch someone get better. And I didn't have to work every day. And I didn't have to be on call.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to have a clinic. So for me,
You had me sold on it when I was working with you. I was like, oh, I'm going to be an emergency medicine.
But I told you, I said, hey, man, you got to do what you like. I said, because everybody says, oh, I'm going to do. That's like, you don't know what you want to do. I went to school to be a thoracic surgeon, and here I am in here intubating people and doing crikes. Like, so you don't know what you want to do, right? Go through it, figure it out. You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know. Like, don't commit.
I hate that. I hate what comes going up to third year. During third year, you hear, oh, you'll know. Oh, you'll know. Oh, you'll know. And then you have that one rotation or that one experience on a rotation you were thinking about doing, and you go, no. There's only like one thing that I want to do.
Right. And I did, and ironically, so my med school didn't have an EM program, but we had an ED, and when I was taking call on internal medicine or surgery, I had to go to the ED and work those patients. So I was like, what is this? This is amazing.
Yeah. And you found a mentor in emergency medicine.
I did.
Didn't you?
Andy Emery was not even in the same time zone. I just was like, hey, I just went through, I think it was at the Emory website, and I found Emory's program, and his name was Douglas Ander. I think Doug is still there. And at the time he worked with med students. And
how'd you find out about?
I just emailed him.
Cold email.
Cold.
How many cold emails you sent out? Or is this that? There you go. Just asking.
Just ask.
Just ask.
And be specific in your ask. Hey, Dr. Ander, my name is Reginald Nesbitt. I'm a third-year medical student at UTMB. I don't have an EM program. I see that you do student education, and that is what your profession.
How did you find that?
Oh, Emory website. And then I went to Emory's website, and I went to the list of professors, and I saw his name, and I saw what he did. And I was like, that's who I need to talk to. So I shot that email off and was like, hey, I need a mentor.
Yeah, so ask him for help.
I need an advisor.
Right.
And he should be my virtual advisor.
Worst case scenario.
What's he going to say?
No.
Ooh. Right?
There's a whole country full of emergency doctors.
He can say is no. I'm not getting kicked out of med school. It's like I'm not going to apply for residency, right? So that's the thing. You can't be afraid. Again, doubt and fear. Afraid of rejection. Bro, rejection is a part of life. One person rejects you, another one will let you in. You cannot be concerned about somebody telling you no.
You just made my job easier.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Right. You've made your declaration. Cool. I know where you stand. Move on. Like rejection is
outside of medicine. That's huge. Yeah.
In life. Yeah. And the people's inability to take rejection, they think it's the end of the world. Like, make it on yourself.
Yeah.
Power through that. Somebody's going to tell you no, but somebody's also going to tell you yes.
You just need one.
You just need one.
Yeah.
So he needs one. So I emailed him. He was like, I think he was kind of dumbfounded by the fact that I just cold emailed him like that. He was like, sure. And we developed a relationship, and we talked every single week. And then I met.
Wow, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because I'm always like, oh, Dr. Nesbitt, Reggie, sorry for taking up so much time. And you tell me nothing is a wasted time.
That's a waste of time, bro.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how many conversations we've had where if I hadn't had somebody older and wiser to help at least act as, if not a solution tree, as like a sounding board for what I'm going through, I don't know what I would have done in certain situations. I would have maybe made the right decision on my own, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, hey, you got somebody, and that's important. And your job, as I've said to you before, your job is to become accomplished and then reach back and grab somebody else and pull them forward.
Yeah, and that's what you did. It seems like how much, like, practically that relationship with Dr. Ander, how did he help you learn how to be a good mentor to others?
Because he listened. He accepted me when I asked. He accepted my ask. Not necessarily me as a person, but he accepted my ask, and he understood where I was, and he had a desire to help. And that's important. And he saw that I was consistent in my follow-up. A lot of times people who need help, the reason that
That's important. That's important.
Yeah, the reason they don't get help is
Yeah.
because they are not consistent in their follow-up. And if you're not consistent in your follow-up,
How do you give good follow-up to a mentor? Because something I was always afraid of is coming up empty-handed. Like, maybe I want to check in, but maybe I don't have anything pressing at that moment. What's a good way to continue, like, maintain a relationship with a mentor from your perspective?
you need to
I think I do a decent job. I hope I do. Yeah.
But don't feel as though you always have to have something, right? Don't feel as though you always have to bring something to the mentor, right? Sometimes it can be just a check-in, a spontaneous check-in, and the mentor can give something to you. But if you don't take that opportunity, you don't get that reward. If you feel as though I always have to reach out to this person because I want to discuss X. Sometimes that mentor can just begin to have a conversation, and the mentor will be like, hey, you know what? I was thinking about this. This may be able to help you. And they'll just drop a nugget on you.
Yeah, I was in contact, like, with Mike. They don't know. Another gentleman that I was reaching out to for mentorship in a different area.
Right.
It took a long time to get in contact with him. But once I finally got contact with him and here I was again, feeling like a burden, feeling like, oh, this guy's so busy. He's not gonna have time for me. He's so important. Putting him on a pedestal, all this stuff. Turns out he was going through the same situation that I was in a completely different context, but similar enough to where he had insight to give. That happened with another mentor as well. Again, I called, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful. Like, I'm having this problem. I don't know if you can help me. I can, because that's what we're doing, like, right now. Or I've just helped somebody else through this.
And always be affirmative in your ask. Like, I don't know if you could help me. Then why are you calling me? What if you don't think I can help you?
True.
Why are you calling me? So be affirmative in your ask. It is not, I don't know if you can help me. It is, this is what I'm going through. I need your help. Because otherwise, you're wasting that person's time. And time, my friend, that is the most valuable of all things.
Right. So going back to your time in medical school, you're taking off to residency. You've realized cardiothoracic surgery is not for you, but you've had this mentorship with Dr.
Douglas Ander. Yeah.
Dr. Douglas Ander. And you ended up in Chicago.
I did. And here's how I ended up in Chicago.
How did you end up in Chicago?
Douglas Ander told me, hey, man, why don't you come to the Society for Academic Emergency Medicine Conference in New Orleans? Absolutely. Sounds good. I had no money. He said, come. And I was like, okay, I'm coming.
How'd you figure it out?
I just figured it out, bro. What did I do? I asked my mother for some,
Mm-hmm.
and then I charged people for tutoring for the rest. He said, come. It's up to me to figure it out, right?
And you had some leverage because you had developed some good study habits.
Yep. People
Over a long period of
a
time.
long period of time. People trust me, and then they appeared to performance, and I was like, okay. And it was people that I normally wouldn't, that were normally not within sort of the circle. The people in my circle, I'm not charging you. We're here learning together. But there were some fringe people that knew, and I was like, you need some help? I got you. Here's what I need though, because I'm trying to get to New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
And
At least you had like a mission.
yes, there was a mission.
It wasn't just
Yeah, give me that. Yeah. No, but it goes back to opportunity. You always have to be ready to accept an opportunity or challenge when it presents itself.
Now, what do you think about this? This gets me into trouble sometimes, but I tend to say yes and then figure it out.
That's what
Say yes first
yes.
and then figure it out.
Yes.
Because that sounds like what you did.
Yes, because and that's sort of interesting that you say that, because that's a lesson. That's something that my former business partner,
Mhm.
when I was presented with the opportunity for contract ownership, what we talked about earlier today, presented with the opportunity, and he was like, "Dude, just say yes, and you'll figure it out." Because I asked him, I said, "Okay, so I'm going to work here. We're going to do this," and both. He was like, "Just say yes, because this is a great opportunity, and we'll figure it out." So yes, the answer is always say yes and figure it out. The yes is in the affirmative. The figuring it out, because that yes forces you to figure it out.
You're in it now.
Yeah.
Or you're letting somebody down.
Yeah.
Or you're missing out on an opportunity.
Missing out on the opportunity.
Yeah.
You cannot. What you cannot do is miss out on opportunities, because otherwise, if an opportunity has presented itself, you obviously have put yourself in a position, or someone sees the potential in you. So either you put yourself in a position for the opportunity to present itself, or someone looks at you and says, I see something there. That person, let me give this person this opportunity. That's how this got started. Mm-hmm. You didn't come to me. We just were chatting things up. You thought what you thought were casual conversations. But then I heard a few things. I was like, okay. Okay. And we just kept talking. And I said, I wonder, is he worthy? I said that. Is he worthy? Yeah, because my time, bro. My time.
Yeah.
All right. Then once I was like, no, he has it. He's worthy. Then I presented you with the opportunity, right? So this is why performance should be top of mind in everything you do, because you never know who's watching. You never know if you're being evaluated. Well, I shouldn't say you never know. Forget that. Scrap that.
Assume.
You're always being watched and you're always being evaluated.
I'm on my research year this year, right? And I was just told this and then I'm hearing it from my boss. I'm hearing it from residents. Everybody's telling me the same thing. Hey, this is a year-long audition for you. Mm-hmm. Just assume you're under the microscope for an entire year, for better or for worse. So you have the opportunity to perform very well and be an asset to everybody and get an opportunity to show what you would be worth as an orthopedic resident. Or you could make one mistake and that'll affect how everybody sees you.
So here's the thing about opportunity. And this goes back to, I think I have to do everything by myself. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing about opportunity. The thing about opportunity is, and doubt. People get opportunities, and because they have doubt and fear, they squander those opportunities. Because people have a desire. I've talked to so many students. I want to be a doctor. 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 Right. And then we go through the entire, because my program is structured. We go through the entire mentorship program. These yahoos get an interview. Mm-hmm. Okay. Get an interview. And oh my God, I'm so nervous. What the hell are you nervous for? Well, I got to go in. I got to interview and I could mess up. I was like, time out.
Yeah.
Now you have been telling me through the entirety of this mentorship process, all you want to be is, this is all I want to do. This is the only thing I want to be. I just want to be. I can't see myself being anything else other than this.
Yeah.
And now you are on the precipice of getting exactly what it is that you say that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you have doubts and fear. You are taking an opportunity and pissing in the wind. Rather than looking at it as, this is what I want. Oh, wait, hold on. This is the last piece. The interview is the last piece. And it now depends on my own performance in person, selling myself. Oh, that should be game. That should be game over.
Yeah.
That should be game over.
Yeah.
That should be, this is an opportunity. I'm going to go kill it. As opposed to, I'm afraid. And then when you're afraid, you're going to go in there and you're probably not going to perform the way you need to perform. So people look at opportunities and they let doubt and fear creep in and they squander them.
All right, to be candid, this is not the Joe Rogan experience. So even though I look like Joe Rogan, yeah, I'm going for it. I'm going to start strangling people on the jiu-jitsu mats next week. We need to go to take a bathroom break, right? So squandering opportunities, don't do it. Not good.
Nope.
When you show up, perform. You are very. What I heard from what you were saying was all that passion that people have shared with you leading up to the big day, the big interview day. It sounds like if you were to just channel all of that energy and show the person that you're being interviewed by all that passion, as if you and I were talking.
Yeah. Because
that could be a better mindset, I think, than
the other
doubting yourself.
No, the other part of the mindset is recognizing as much as they're interviewing them, they're interviewing you. Meaning it's not just you're in a position to where they are evaluating you. You're also evaluating that institution.
And this is where it goes back to not assuming that they're smarter than you.
Yeah. Because why go somewhere where you have bad feeling and you don't think it's going to be a good fit?
Yeah.
This is sort of a 360 evaluation. So, and it should be that way.
Yeah. I feel like if you put them on a pedestal and assume, oh, this is the key to, I think you can see where I'm going. Like you just create this monster of a barrier to getting. And then if you don't have the belief that you can overcome that barrier, then you're setting yourself up.
That's right. Go relax, be yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want to know. They want to know you. They don't care. The point where you're having an interview, you've crossed the major hurdles and milestones. They know you're smart, probably got some good grades, got some letters of recommendations, got some extra curriculum. Okay, great. Your file did not get tossed into the circular file. So we know that you probably can make it here. Now we want to know about you as a person. And that's very different from anything that's on your application.
So do you think that's a good frame of mind to have? I assume that is what you tell people.
Yes, that's exactly what I tell people.
So interview skills. Go ahead and let's quickly divulge into that. You are evaluating them. You've earned enough of a right to at least sit there for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time to display yourself. Do I go in and do I start talking about all the awesome stuff on my resume again?
Answer the question. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
You answer the questions. The key to a good interview is to make it conversational.
Right.
And not make it an interview.
Mm-hmm.
You make it a conversation. You answer the questions. And a keen interviewer, interviewee, I should say, a keen interviewee will pick up and identify some commonality with the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, my interview was, his name was Dr. Noah. And we were in a small office and We started talking about, typical interview things. And then I saw a picture on his wall. And I said, I said, do you like Monet? Because it was an impressionist picture. And he said, yeah, why do you ask? And I said, well, you've got this replica here of a Monet picture. He says, yeah, you like Impressionism? I said, I do like Impressionism. And we started talking about all the Impressionist artists. And I also said, but you know what? I also like, Cubism and Picasso's, it's pretty. And so we started talking. Then the conversation turned into art.
And it was less about,
Then it was nothing about med school.
why are you worthy to come here?
Yeah.
It was more of this is two people having a conversation.
Two people having a conversation. And if you can identify with people and get them to like you, that goes a long way. And this goes into something that I hold everyone that I mentor to read voraciously about things that you know nothing about and that you particularly don't have an interest in or historically have not had an interest in, because it makes you a much more well-rounded person. And you'll never know when you need that information. So I went to talk about...
Wait, were you actually not into Impressionism?
No, I love art. I'm an artist. I paint and draw and all kinds of things. So yeah, it's good. But you want to be as well-rounded as you can be, just as a human being. Just as a human being. So read voraciously. Like, we all have things that we're interested in, right? But those should not be the only things that we're interested in. Because the ability to make a connection with someone is extremely valuable. My next interview, we talked about art. The next interview, what did we talk about? We talked about language. Yeah, because I speak French and Spanish.
Right.
And we talked about, languages and the development of languages and why people should and what do you like about them. And that person was a polyglot as well. And it's great. Mm-hmm. And the cat.
Oh, I'm okay.
All right.
Yeah. She's cool. It's actually pretty funny.
But my last interview, on the other hand, was very straightforward. And it was a hard-hitting, don't you do it, don't you jump up here. It was a hard-hitting interview. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, we switch gears. You want to keep it above board and straight? You don't want to make it personal? No problem. I got you. We can do that too. And a question that he asked me was, well, what are you going to do if you don't get in? And I said,
oh, here we go.
and I said to him, I said, everything that I've done in my life has led me up to this very point and this very interview right here. So somewhere, someone saw my application and thought that I could probably matriculate and be successful here. Yeah. I said, now, so that's my mindset. I said, but should I not get in, which I fully do not anticipate should be the case, then you'll see me next year. You'll see me next year. And he says, okay.
Because what do you think somebody's asking when they ask that question?
Well,
what do they want? What are the two ways that could go?
Well, they're asking about determination is what they're asking about. They're trying to determine if you really want this, because medicine is a single focused track. And once you're on it, you're on it. And it's expensive, and it relegates you to doing just about only that if you don't know any better.
Which we'll get into.
If you don't know any better. Yeah. So it can be singularly focused, and it can track you into it, or it can be a foundation and a springboard for something else. But very few know that. So he asked me, I said to him, you'll see me here next year. Mm-hmm. And he says, okay. And he began to pack up his things. I said, but wait a minute, I'd like to ask you a question. He says, okay. And I said, I know you asked me, what would I be doing if I didn't get in?
I guess we'll never know.
Right. Right. So the question I'd like to ask you is, do you want to be responsible, or do you want to be the person that potentially could be responsible for derailing my dream.
So, were you on drugs?
I was not.
Or were you, okay.
I was not.
That's a pretty aggressive question.
No, not at all. Not at all.
To the average person, yeah.
Well, if you're comfortable asking me,
Mm-hmm.
what are you gonna do if you don't get in? I'm equally comfortable asking you, are you okay with being responsible for me not getting in?
Right.
Considering that, as I said earlier, somewhere somebody saw this GPA, this summa cum laude, these honors and these awards, this extracurricular. They saw all these things. They saw these personal statements. They saw these letters of recommendation and said, we want him to interview.
Mm-hmm.
We want him to interview. So if that is the case, do you want to be responsible for me potentially not achieving my dream that for all intents and purposes, I have worked and done everything that I'm supposed to do to land me at this point, and the only thing standing between it and me is you.
And so you put it back on him.
I did, and he was not expecting that.
Right. And and for better for worse, that is something that he's going to be sitting with as an impression to take back to the deliberation for who they decide gets in.
Right, because that question that I asked him is essentially the same question he asked me. Because what he was asking me is, what if you don't get in? What are you going to do? He wants to know, is this person serious? Does this person understand the singular focus commitment that is going to take to get him where he's supposed to be? Does he understand this?
Mm-hmm.
So he asked, that's the position he's taking when he's asking that question. But for me to ask him, the question I ask him lets him know I am understanding of the singular focus commitment that it takes to be here.
And if you're intelligent, or if you can read between the lines, what you're telling him is that if I'm telling you this in this interview here,
mm-hmm.
he's talking like this in other interviews too, probably. So he's determined he's going to get it.
I'm going to get it. So I'm going to get it.
So you have increased your perceived value.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, guys, he's going to get it in somewhere. So why not?
Why not here? Why should we not want him to be an alum?
And all that stuff is just increasing the odds of getting that one.
But it
one
also,
so that's all you need.
It's like it is one, but it also goes to the fact that you should always be willing to promote yourself.
Back to mentorship and putting yourself out there for just a second.
Because what's the risk?
Saying no.
When I showed up for the interview, I wasn't accepted. If I leave the interview, I can either be accepted or not. If I leave the interview and I get in, then mission accomplished. If I leave the interview and I don't get in, I wasn't even accepted when I showed up.
You didn't lose anything.
Didn't lose anything.
Maybe the fee to travel, but hey, it's virtual these days.
Didn't lose a thing. So what? Why not?
Exactly. So back to the mentorship journey. Dr. Ander had you come out to the conference.
Yes.
What was that like?
That was fantastic. I got to be in an environment with other students who wanted to do emergency medicine. There were also program directors from other programs.
Is that something you were expecting? Because you've never been to a big conference.
Had no idea. Had no idea.
Yeah.
He told me to come. I said, okay, I show up. And that is where I met David Howes. And David Howes walked up to me, and he's a character, and I love David.
Are you guys still friends today?
Yeah, he's program director. He was a program director at, he's retired now, but he was a program director at the University of Chicago.
And that is where you ended up?
That is where as the hoodie says, the University of Chicago. That's where I ended up.
Yeah.
And he walked up to me, and David is a character, and his introduction, I will leave off of this podcast. And I found it odd, but then he said, hey, but you know what? You should apply. We have a great program. He went through all of the accolades of the program, and I was like, I'd never even considered it. But I was like, okay, I'll apply. Sure. And he said, when you apply, just let me know. I was like, okay, cool. So I applied. And I said, hey, just let you know, I just put my application in. He said, okay, great. I don't think that he understood what he was going to be reading. And I got an interview. Quickly.
Okay.
And
So we just talked about med school interviews, right?
Uh-huh.
Now tell me about
residency interviews.
residency interviews.
So residency interviews, those are very different.
Oh, how so?
Because you're now mingling with people who have done what you want to do. For as far as it's not the pressure. It's not. I won't say pressure because pressure does not exist. It is not the conundrum of student trying to be doctor. Now you're a doctor. It's doctor on doctor, right?
Yeah.
And now it's really about fit. This is more so about your fit for the program and the program's fit for you. And that's what's crucially important. So when you're there, you need to look at facilities, look at other residents, you need to ask, what this program is like. Is there some malignancy in this program? What is your training like? How do you perform on your boards? Like, what do you guys do outside of residency? Like all the things. And what they're looking for is a personality fit. Because if they're interviewing you, they know you're sharp.
I've heard that as well. I think it's very specialty dependent based on what accolades you need to have to get in the door, at least in America.
Yeah. If you get in the door, you're good.
But if you get in the door, let's assume you got in the door, assessing that fit. How did you assess that fit?
I looked at that program. I was like, I've never been to Chicago before. And I was like,
Beautiful place.
Beautiful. That's great. And my interview was in November.
Oh.
And I came in with this overcoat on. And one of my Kip Adrian was the interviewing that day. He ended up being my co-resident. He said, Rich, I remember when you showed up with that coat on, man. It wasn't even cold that day. Like, he's from Michigan. I was like, yeah. I was like, kid, you kissed my ass. It was cold. But it's that fit, the assessment of that fit is what matters. And what I looked at when I got there is I looked around. I was like, okay, everybody that I talked to here is brilliant.
So that standard that you held yourself to. Because you don't seem like somebody that wants to play around with B players.
B players can't. A players can't stand B players. A players cannot stand B players, and A players don't even acknowledge the presence of C players.
Yeah, and I've heard that for other people I look up to. They just went ahead and acknowledged in themselves, I will not work well with B players. I can tolerate it.
Tolerate it, but it's not. Yeah,
it's not going to help me grow to where I want to be. Yeah.
And I looked around, and it was A players everywhere, and I was like,
what were those attributes that you saw in them?
The rigor, the absolute rigor of that entire institution, not just a residency program. Everything about the University of Chicago screams academic rigor and academic excellence. And I love those types of environments because it brings out the best, but then it also allowed me to compete. And it's like, okay, big boy, let's see where you're at. Let's see where you are.
So you were not in the perspective of, let me just get in where I can get in.
No, I don't care about that. I'm going to get in. We're going to get in. We're going to get in. Like, we know we're going to get in. Like, this is a time in which your board scores were not pass fail. So I was 99th percentile. I was AOA. I'm not sharing those things from an arrogant perspective. I'm sharing those things from a statistical perspective that odds are I'm going to get in, and I'm not going to go on an interview and be a jerk.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get in because of just mainly those three things. For me, it was more about fit.
But you had set yourself up to have that, to have options.
Well, yes.
That's what I love about it is when you excel, when you kill it, when you make it undeniable, then you can look for the fit, and you're not left to, let me just get in.
Correct.
Where I can get in. I just want to be this kind of doctor somewhere.
Correct.
You kind of get the privilege of going, okay.
And privilege is the appropriate moniker. But to your point, you absolutely have to set yourself up from the beginning. This is why you have to have expectations of yourself in everything that you do. You need to, if your expectation is not one of excellence, why are you doing it? Now, you don't have to be a terrible person when you're doing it.
Yeah.
But you should have expectations of excellence for every single thing that you do. I don't care if it is medicine. I don't care if it's vacationing. I need to take the most excellent vacation I can. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't care if it is cycling.
Right.
I need to be dedicated to this training.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, and there's something I want to say is for anybody that might be listening, all 5 of you.
Got to start somewhere, man.
Absolutely. I think if you feel like if you start to feel bad for wanting better for yourself, if you start feeling bad for having those expectations because you start having conversations with people and they say, why are you not okay with just settling for X? You need to get around different people.
That's what I said. You get away from those people.
Get away from
those people.
Because when I met you, I didn't have anybody that had validated those desires. I kept those to myself because they felt arrogant. I felt bad. I felt like I should just be okay with getting to the next. But when I saw somebody that had held themselves to that standard and it paid off, and they were happy in what they were doing, they enjoyed what they were doing, they were able to go do amazing, incredible things. I saw, that's the kind of career that I would want. Mm-hmm. But I have to hold myself to the standard, and it's good for me.
We all have gifts. Why not use them?
Yeah, you one life.
Yeah, you have a gift. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has natural gifts, those innate gifts, but you also have gifts that can be developed.
Yeah.
So if you have innate gifts and then you have the ability to develop other gifts, why would you not use them? So it is, and I understand what you're saying, because oftentimes the standards that I've held myself to in conversations with people, I've been called arrogant.
Yeah.
But had it not been for the fortitude developed in me by my grandmother and my father and my mother to understand not to listen and let that negativity affect me, it's easy to succumb to others' perceptions. So what I recognize is I knew I wasn't being arrogant. What I was being confident because I believed in myself. And the fact that you think that I'm being arrogant, that maybe you just don't believe in yourself. I don't have to be a jerk and tell you that. I can think that and I can know that because of my own personal experience.
I just want other people to be aware of that too.
Yeah. You don't feel bad, bro.
If somebody in your life is telling you to, hey, take it easy, big guy. Like, I know you want all these things, but let's be realistic.
No, dream big, accomplish big. Dream big, accomplish big. Now, do not be an arrogant person. Don't be a haughty person.
Yeah.
Right?
Pride. Yeah.
Because true arrogance is a personality flaw. But wanting and having expectations for yourself and having high expectations for yourself and having high demands for yourself, that's not arrogance.
I don't think so.
That's not arrogance. Arrogance is a personality flaw. Just like Don't engage in that. But yeah, if you are around people that are like that,
So you found your fit in Chicago.
absolutely found my fit. It was a bunch of gangsters. And I love that competition of going back and forth and being, everybody was brilliant. So it raises the level, like the tide raises all ships, bro. And it increased the level of everyone around. And I looked around, and it was also a very diverse program.
Going back to that, yeah.
Okay. And I did not see, and I know, people have issues with diversity and stuff now, but let me tell you why it was helpful.
Okay. No, I think it's an important.
This is why diversity is helpful.
Yeah.
Because I want to be clear that I earned my spot. I don't want people to get it twisted, right? Because I do. No,
Right. And
I joke, but no. Here's why the diversity was important. And people often misconstrue diversity to only think racial diversity. Was there racial diversity there? 100%. 100% it was.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also diversity. There was geographic diversity, where people came from all over the country. And then sometimes people came from different parts of the world. There was academic diversity, where you had some people went to Ivy League schools. You had some people go to state schools. You had some people go to very small, rigorous liberal arts schools, right? You had age diversity. You had some very young people that were there who were like these wonder kinds, right? But then you had people who this was their second career and they were older.
Oh, wow.
So all of that diversity comes in.
All that life experience.
Different cultures, people, races, age, geography, and you put it in on top of that, you put that all together. And then there was it was a rigorous expectation of academic excellence. That was expected. The academic excellence was expected.
Yeah.
That was an external expectation from the institution, because the institution has a reputation to maintain.
Yes.
And the University of Chicago has a pristine, rigorous academic institution in medicine, in law, in sciences, their PhD programs, their master's program, their MBA programs, where I went. Like it is expected,
Right.
not required. It's expected.
So for you, this was
perfect.
This was the epitome of everything you've worked for.
Yes.
And you finally found
I found my nirvana. And I learned the medicine, I learned the academics, but then I learned from all the diverse people that I was around. I had dinners with people from different cultures, from different countries that I otherwise might not have had.
Right. What did you learn from those people?
That there is commonality in the human experience. That's what I learned.
Right.
While I'm sitting down having a fufu for the first time, and it was an amazing dinner. And I went to my first Seder at the University of Chicago because I had Jewish friends, right? Yeah. I had African friends, and we had fufu. We had biltong. Some of my Indian friends, we had all manner of curry and everything. My Asian friends properly taught me how to use chopsticks because what I was doing was an abomination, right? It was all those things.
Right.
But then I had my white friends who was Rob. Love Rob. Love Rob. Rob was in my class. Rob was...
What did Rob show you?
The love of a Porsche. The love of a Porsche.
Did he have a Porsche?
Yes.
Let me
tell you what, Rob was, he was the coolest dude, but he was the trust fundiest of trust fund babies.
Yeah.
And but again, that's another aspect of diversity, right?
That's a positive. I mean, that's a positive if you obviously held yourself to a certain standard. You expected yourself. You saw a different vision for your life in the future, and you were like, oh, this is an opportunity to see what that is like on the other side, at the tail end of it.
Yeah, because
And you get to benefit from it without having, yeah.
Yeah, Rob was a complete, that dude came from, he was a complete trust fund baby, but you would never know it if you talked to him. Now, you knew it if you talked to him, because I was well read, and at that point, decently traveled. I hadn't traveled a lot, but I'd been out the country, right? So I'm accustomed to having conversations because I was broad conversations about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But when I listened to Rob talk, it was a little bit different. His experiences were a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then we were just talking one day, and he just told me. But he was so nonchalant about it, and I was cool with it. But that's another aspect of diversity, right? Because I came from this small, crazy racial town,
Right.
where there was no trust fund people there. Well, I should say that there were, but whatever. But I'd never met someone, right? And when would Rob potentially have the opportunity to be in proximity with somebody like me? But we're there learning medicine together.
You guys are at the same level.
Same level.
Yeah. Playing field is even, brother.
Yeah, playing field's even, brother. If you let's compete, right? But
Let's make each other better. At that stage, because I imagine that residency, it's less about, I'm going to beat you. It's more about, because everybody's competing for residency. By residency, you're there.
Yeah, you're there.
So we're here to become the best doctor.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But I remember a conversation with Rob. He was from St. Louis. And at that time, I've always worn a 911 as a kid. But then I saw, for some reason, I got off track and I saw this Lexus made it as a car, as a convertible, hardtop convertible, SC430. I used to love a good SC430. And I was talking to Rob about that one day. I said, I love it. One day I want to have that. Rob was like, this is what he said. With his hair kind of slicked back a little bit of a ponytail.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there, he's chilling, and he's like, that's a cool car, Reg. That's cool.
Yeah.
He said, but it's not like it's a Porsche or anything. It's not a Porsche, right?
Right.
And I was like, and he said that, I was just like, yeah, but he was like, I hear you. But he was basically saying there are levels to this. But he didn't say it in a way that was unbecoming.
Right.
It was just in passing and talking.
Uh-huh.
And I realized, well, this guy's speaking from a different vantage point, right?
And as you're looking at it like, I haven't driven any of these cool cars before. So you picked one and you were like, I like this one. This is a cool thing.
Yeah. And
right. What were you driving at the time?
A 1995 GMC Sonoma.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Pickup truck, bro. Small. Yeah. Stick shift.
Yes, sir.
Make it happen.
Yes, sir.
And he went on to tell me about his mother's cars and her Porsches, her Porsche. And it was air cooled. And it was such a good conversation because it brought me back to my childhood and my love of 911s.
And now you're seeing a possibility.
And now I'm saying, yeah, but that conversation changed my. Why am I thinking about an SC430 when I know I love a 911? Right? That sort of diversity pulled me up.
Right. Because you love cars. We're not talking about, because I want the status symbol.
No, I love
full car. You just love cars.
Love cars.
Yeah.
I love the art, and I love the artistry of a 911. I love the mechanics of a 911. I love the engineering of a 911. I love the history of the 911. I just love it.
It's a great car.
Great car.
Great one in your garage.
Great one in my garage. Just got it.
Second one, right?
Well, the first one was 718 Cayman. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Still a great car.
Still a great car.
Yeah.
911. But great car in its own right. The great car. It was my gateway. The 718 was my gateway.
So you're in this area of diversity and excellence, and I found that to be similar as well. I just rotated at a community residency program in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And they attract a lot of IMG residents into their program. And you can say what you want to, but I've learned a tremendous amount about. There's a gentleman that I worked with who was a surgeon over in Africa.
That's right. They will come over here and dog.
They came over here and is an internal medicine resident. I have more respect for that resident out of the gate than I do somebody that just came through the U.S. program. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. When you tell me that I've operated on people for a living, and here I am doing internal medicine, and then my kid, I just had my first kid. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're back in Africa. I have not seen my firstborn kid in person.
Yeah.
My wife is there supporting. I'm sending money. Like, that's that'll make you very grateful.
It does. And that, again, that's where diversity comes in. Like,
Yeah.
when would you have had that opportunity in your own life experience to come across someone like that? But it also helps you open up your eyes to see that the world is not as myopic as you may think. It's bigger than what you think, but smaller than what you think. Right?
It sets sets your expectations in a worldly perspective versus your narrow.
That's right.
Narrow.
And but you know what it also does?
Mhm.
It opens up your mind, and it also is a really critical adjunct to your critical thinking skills. Because you bring all of that. Residency is it is a bastion of diversity. It comes through because you're taking care of diverse patients.
So you want to have as much experience with every type of person that might walk through that door.
Right, because it is equally good, because you'll have at University of Chicago, because it was a tertiary center.
Yeah.
But it was also on the south side of Chicago. So we ran the gamut of impoverished people who were wealthy would come to the tertiary center, to people who would be flown in and they had these complex issues. And I think it is an extremely important development for people to take care of people who don't have their life experiences. I think as much as important as it was for me to have that conversation about that 9/11 with Rob, I think it was just as important for Rob to have to take care of some impoverished people.
Yeah.
Because that is not his perspective. And you can, if you are honest with yourself,
Right.
and this goes back to treating people like people and not diseases, because residency is the perfect place to treat someone like a disease, because you're surrounded by it and now you're applying.
Your job is to learn.
Your job is to learn and do the right. That is the perfect setup for just treating someone like a disease. However, if you take the different approach and treat that person like a human, you have the opportunity to really challenge yourself in ways that you probably may not have been. Residency to me is, I was talking to someone, one of my colleagues in my current position, and we were talking about current events, I'll say.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said was, he was in the military for a while. And he says, one of the things that the military does is it beats all bias out of you, because now you're dependent on people that you otherwise may not have come in contact with in your own regular life. And your survival is depending on each other. And I said, there are two other places that exists: a locker room, a sports locker room, and residency. In residency, particularly if you go to a diverse residency, because there's diversity all around you. So I think it's important that Rob took care of impoverished patients to understand why we were seeing impoverished patients in such extreme situations. Okay, yes, people have congestive heart failure, but impoverished people come in and flash pulmonary edema and hypertensive crisis. That's very different from someone who may be well heeled and have insurance and can maintain, and then they're just doing follow-up.
Right. Or you get the tuberculosis patient.
Yeah. You get TB patients
that you would never see in the white collar, very healthy, well taken care of.
You wouldn't see it.
No.
Wouldn't see it.
You read about it in the books, but
you'll
never see it. Yeah.
Never see it. And then when you do see it, you'll miss it. You'll miss it.
Right.
So.
Pause. Good. Horsepower, we 17%. Oh, we're doing great. All right.
Okay. So your residency was very diverse, opens you up to a lot of different things. You found your fit. And then something happened at the end of residency. I'm assuming it was you were getting well trained. But were there any challenges? This all sounds great. But were there any challenges you had to overcome?
Yes, my intern year. You went to our lights on.
Huh?
You went to our lights on.
Yeah.
All right. So yes. So my intern year. This was the 3rd month of my intern year, and by that time I had done ICU rotation. I had done a peds ICU. I had done peds EM, and I was riding high. I think I'd done a surgical. No, I did surgical rotation as well. One of my first trauma rotations. We did a ton of trauma.
Yeah.
And I was riding high. But on the ICU rotation, I had the opportunity to do a thoracentesis. Actually, I did 10 of them.
Before that?
I did 10 of them during that rotation.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was pretty proficient. The first one, you kind of somebody's assisting you. The second one, they're watching. Third, 3 through 10, nobody's watching you. You're just in there as a fresh. As an intern. This is before people were using ultrasound, so we were percussing and figuring out where you were going.
Yeah.
That's where you had
Landmarks.
you had to have really, really good history and physical exam skills, right? And of course, I was trained to ultrasound the latter part of my residency, but before they were like, no, you need to learn blind, right? See, I'm cut. Oh, here we go. Here's my fluid level. Okay, fluid gone, done. So there's a patient that came into room 6. And this was at the main campus of school. At that time, it was called the Mitchell.
Yeah.
The Mitchell ED. That subsequently has been, we got to do ER now. But anyway, she was in the Mitchell and room number 6 in a curtain. Lovely black lady. Sweet. She had lung cancer. And I went in to see her, and black patients are really, really excited to see young black doctors. Particularly older ones. Yeah. They're super excited, super happy for you. And they're proud. It's more pride for them. And
It always makes me upset. It always makes me upset because I'm like, I'm kind of jealous.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
I'm like, I see the instant connection.
Yeah.
And it's something I take for granted. A white person walking to see a white person. We're like, what's up? And then you guys, and I'm like,
well, that's
that's okay. That's awesome.
It's awesome because when you think about when you think, and this is the importance of diversity, right? But when you think about you think about a physician. If you just said describe a physician, you're usually going to come up with a white male.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to have hair, right? So
I didn't get this haircut to look like him.
We got the haircut for the same reason, though. We were forced to.
Genetics, man. Turkey was not in my financials.
That's right.
Unfortunately, at the time.
So I go in and I see her.
And black toupees are not like.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
It's not.
That's not good. Okay, you can do that. LeBron James, right? Please, LeBron, if you're watching this, bro, let it go.
Sorry, dude.
Hey, you too, Katie.
Ooh,
I love you both.
I know. Well, don't go. Yeah.
Right. No, I walked in the room and she was, of course, got the same. Oh, hey, babe, how you doing? I'm so proud of you. And I was like, okay, great. And she had lung cancer, and she was having some shortness of breath.
Right.
And I talked to her, listened to her. Oh, she's got a large pool of effusion. She needs a tap. So get a chest X-ray. Sure enough, there it is. And I go out to my attending, and he went, okay, what you got in room 6? Let's say, total story. She needs a thoracentesis. And this was Dr. Howe's program director. And he said, have you done thoracentesis? I said, oh, absolutely. I was in ICU rotation. I did 10 of them. I'm good. He said, sure. I said, yeah, I'm good. I said, okay. So I go set up everything. And I told her what I'm going to do, get her permission, get her consented and everything, and turn her around, betadine, lidocaine. I'll get ready to do the procedure. So, enter in the needle, and I'm pulling back. I'm getting a lot of resistance here. What the heck's going on? I'm repositioning. My attending was like 5 minutes into it. He was like, you okay in there? He's talking through the curtain, not even in the room, right? Talking through the curtain. I said, yeah, no, we're good. Just kind of, I must have a pocket of loculated fluid or something. He said, okay. A couple seconds later, patient starts coughing. Now,
Yeah.
as an experienced clinician now, I know what that means. But as an intern, I did not. But you know who did know?
The attending.
The attendee.
Yeah.
So he hears our coughing. He walks into the room and he says, "You okay, Reg?" I say, "Yep, sure, we're good." And he says, he looks at her, she's coughing. He's like, let's take it out. Okay, cool. And he was cool as a fan. And he said, he goes and he listens and he says, "Let's go take a look at the chest x-ray." He said, "Man, we'll be right back." He knew. You know what he knew? I was on the wrong side. He knew two things. He knew I was on the wrong side, and he knew why she was coughing. And why she was coughing is critically important. We go look at the chest x-ray. He says, "Before we look at the chest x-ray, which side is her pleural effusion on?" And I said, "It's on the left." And he says, "But you were on the right side." I said, what are you talking about? He says, "Look at the x-ray. Yes, there's a effusion." He said, "But when you were doing it, you were not doing it on the left. You were doing it on the right. You transposed in your mind looking at the AP film. But when you turn the patient around, it's you have to go on the true side." He said, "That is a very common mistake. I've seen this before." I said, "Oh." He said, "Don't feel bad." He said, "But more importantly, she's got a pneumothorax now." I said, "Well, we don't have the chest x-ray." He says, "She was coughing." And he said, "Did you encounter resistance?" I said, "I did."
That was in a lung.
And he said, "And then did the resistance all of a sudden just give away?" I said, "It did." He says, "Yes, because you caused a pneumothorax." So we're going to get a repeat chest x-ray. We're going to confirm what we know to be true. Well, but first, I need you to go listen to see how large this pneumothorax is. I go in, I listen. I was like, just there. And then I come back out. I say, "Yeah, I can hear it on your breath sounds on that side." And he said, "Okay, no problem." Now, he says, "So we'll get the chest x-ray." I said, "Okay." He says, "But I need you to go back in the room and tell her what you did." I was like, he said, "Yeah, you made a mistake." I said, and I was like, "Yeah, are you coming with me?" He was like, "I didn't make the mistake. You made the mistake. You go have the conversation with the patient."
Wow.
And he said, "And you need to be honest with her."
Yeah.
Because it is important that that she knows that you made a mistake and you are aware of your mistake and you're being honest and coming clean with her about the mistake. So you have to be able to do that because the cover-up is always worse than the crime. And he says,
That's huge.
He says, "You never mislead people and you never mislead patients." I walked into that room and I said, "Ma'am, I have something I need to tell you." She said, "Go ahead, baby. What is it?" And I said, "I did your procedure on the wrong side, and I think I may have caused one of your lungs to collapse." She says, "Baby, don't worry about it. It's okay." She says, "You're learning." She said, can it be fixed?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. It may require us to put a tube in your lung to drain it." And she says, "Okay, I understand. No problem. You're learning.
Wow.
You're learning.
Wow.
I get it." She says, "I'm fortunate to be at this hospital getting the kind of care that I get in. And I know that if I lived anywhere else, I probably would not be getting the good care that I'm getting. But I also know that I'm a part of your training experience. And it's okay, baby. It's okay."
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. And what was going through your head? Was there the fear that it was going to be the worst?
It was worse, yeah. I mean, you make a mistake, you gotta go tell the patient you made a mistake.
And you're hard on yourself, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Oh, this gets worse.
Okay. Go on.
This gets much worse.
I don't know.
Chest x-ray comes.
Yeah.
Shoots the film. Now, of course, this was in 2001.
Okay.
Right before the advent of PACS. So you know how we had to look at chest x-rays?
Yes.
Hot light. You know what a hot light is?
Yep.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Looking at the x-ray on the hot light. And I'm looking on the hot light, and I missed the pneumothorax. Patient gets admitted, develops a tension pneumothorax, requires a couple of chest tubes upstairs, and she dies. And my attending, the next day I was working, David came up to me and he said, I need to talk to you, Reg. I said, okay, what's going on? And he said, you remember the lady in room 6? I said, yeah. He said, she died. I was like, what happened? He was like, she died of a tension pneumothorax. I was like, wait, what? And he was like, it appears that you missed the pneumothorax on a chest x-ray. Let's pull up a chest x-ray. So I had to walk down to radiology, request the film, get the film, bring it back to the ER, and he showed me. And it was there. And I just missed it.
On the same side?
Yeah. I just missed the pneumothorax. So looking at a chest x-ray on a hot light is not easy.
You guys already knew it was a... Or did you guys not put the chest tube in the right?
We didn't put the chest tube in because I didn't see the pneumothorax. Right. You see how... Yeah.
And you made that call.
Made the call?
And who you're attending was on board with it?
No, he wasn't. No, bro, when you get to residency, you'll see attendings are always around.
Oh.
The attendings, they're not always.
Understood. So you made the call.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I looked at the hot light and then under the regular light. And I just missed it. There's no excuse. I just missed it. And here's why there's no excuse. Did it on the wrong side. Told her I did it on the wrong side. Knew I collapsed the lung. Listened to it. Heard the decreased breath sounds. And still missed it on the film. And didn't do the procedure. And this woman goes upstairs and she dies. And he told me.
Walk me through that.
Yeah.
That moment. And the weight of what you had done, and then how you had to wrestle with it. Because I'm assuming it wasn't easy.
Oh, I
just talked to a resident recently that had...
I broke down crying, bro. I started crying. And you know me. I don't even know my tear ducts worked prior to that. I don't even know if I had functioning tear ducts prior to that. But I cried. And my attending, he let me cry for a good couple of minutes. And he said, okay, we good? I said, yes. He says, now I want you to go home. And I was like, but I got to finish my shift. He said, no, I've already arranged one of your fellow residents to cover your shift because I know we need to have this crucial conversation. I want you to go home. He said, this is not punitive. I want you to go home and I want you to think about what happened, why it happened, and I want you to think about this outcome. And I want you to come to grips about what happened. But more importantly, I need you to learn from this. And he said, this is not the first time that someone has made a mistake.
Yeah.
This will not be the last time that someone makes a mistake. This is not the first time that somebody has made a mistake with this outcome.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but what I need for you to do is learn from this. Not just learn from the mistake, but I want you to learn a critical lesson. The critical lesson I need you to learn is diligence. I need you to...
He's telling Reggie Nesbitt, I had a little more diligent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is where the ability to accept criticism comes into play. And he's telling me this in an emotional moment. He's telling me this in a moment that matters. And he was like, I need you to learn diligence about what you do, how you do it, when you do it. I need you to be thoughtful. He says, you're very talented, you're very smart, but don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself because you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to go home. He said, this is not punitive. Come back tomorrow. I need you to start fresh tomorrow because today you're not going to be in your right mind.
Right.
And he says, I know that. And he said, and I'm okay with that. I want you to get this out and then come back tomorrow. Fresh start. Nobody's holding anything against you.
Mm-hmm.
But I need you to be the better version than what you were yesterday.
Wow. So what do you want to tell What do you want to tell residents or students about that experience? Because I'm sure we've talked, this whole time has been about confidence in yourself and overcoming self-doubt. Did any of that, you can be honest, did this kind of shake that a little bit?
It shook it a little bit. Yeah. Somebody died, bro. I made a mistake. I made a critical mistake.
And how did you overcome?
Well, here's the thing. I won't say it shook. It
didn't break you.
It didn't shake my confidence, but what it did was it made me feel bad because I'm not even going to say a lapse in judgment. I participated in incompetence. I was an active and willing participant in incompetence. And that's what bothered me. And I thought about also, I felt bad for her. And I came back the next day. He said, don't feel bad. He said, sometimes it's time for people to go. He said, you never wanted to be at your hands.
True.
But maybe it's her time to go. But I felt bad for her. I felt bad for her family because now their loved one is gone. But the reason I felt bad for her is because she was so kind to me in my error.
One error. And then she had given you that grace and then.
Yeah. So she was so kind to me in my error. And I felt like I did not reciprocate that kindness and my lack of diligence to her. That's what bothered me. That's why I felt bad for her. But it made me diligent. It made me hyper focused, and it changed. I needed that moment.
And was that the last moment?
Last one. I needed that moment though.
Yeah.
And that sticks with me to this day. And it is a lesson that one that my father always taught me was you always do things right the first time. And I didn't do things right the first time. And that's one of the critical things I learned. If you're going to do something, do it right the first time. Like we can't be circling back around doing it over and over again.
No, I agree with you.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
But I tell everyone that I mentor that story because people will look at it's the classic iceberg story, right? And the water. People see the tip, right? They see where I am now. They see things I may have accomplished. And they're kind of like what you said before. You look at someone and they're in awe. It's just like, oh my gosh. Like, but I always say, all you are seeing is the iceberg. And you're seeing the meniscus of the water. There's a shit ton of ice underneath there that you're not seeing.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So let me tell you about some of the shit ton of ice that's under here. And I always tell them that. Yeah. And the question is, well, how did you just overcome that? And I was like, well, because that was not the first time in my life that I faced adversity. So the things that I had learned from my parents about overcoming things and doing things and having the expectations of yourself and dealing with adversity and dealing with challenges, that conceptually I had already mastered. So that wasn't the issue. It was the guilt. That was the problem. That was the issue. And it was the guilt. And it was that, again, I participated in incompetence.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Well, you asked, so.
I mean, yeah. But I wasn't expecting the turn that it took, right? I assumed, okay, you went on the wrong side. That's it.
No, we
would take this, let's take this a step further.
Okay.
And then somebody passed away. Wow. Have you had to deal with, how has that shaped how you deal with death as a physician, as an emergency physician, especially because it's more prevalent than a lot of other specialties.
Yeah, I think probably the only other specialty that deals with it as much as we do is probably oncology.
Yeah.
How do I deal with it?
Because I'm sure there's something last patient that's passed away under your watch.
No, for sure. No, not at all. Just not in my hands. The concept of death it's a challenge for me personally the older that I get.
Yeah.
Because every birthday is 1 year closer, right? And you begin to, when you're younger, you're like, you're immortal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you turn 40 though. You start to be like, wait a minute, hold up. There's some finality to this story.
Right.
You turn 45 and you're like, I don't know, man. This is, you think about it, right?
Yeah.
How do I deal with it in the ED?
Yeah. For the aspiring ED physician.
For the adult patients, you get accustomed to it happening.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't get accustomed to, when I say accustomed to, you understand that if a person reaches a terminal point in their healthcare journey, they can expire. Right. So the end product of VFib that I cannot get back into a sinus rhythm is death. Right. The end point of a saddle pulmonary embolus that puts a patient into sort of essentially cardiogenic and shock that I can't alleviate with alteplase ends up in death, right? The septic patient that doesn't get better despite fluid resuscitation and antibiotics and potentially could end up in death. So you understand the end point of their clinical journey. So that part you get accustomed to with adults, at least for me. What you don't get accustomed to are the notifications to the family. That's what brings it that's what brings the humanity back into that. Or having to tell someone that their family member is no longer with them. All the things, all the memories they've had, everything that they've learned from them, the fact that they just had breakfast with them and anticipated having dinner with them, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I think so that's for adults. And the thing for kids, you never get over it. Because
in y'all's ER,
yeah.
One of the worst story I'll ever tell anybody that asks me about medical story is the young man getting drug up under a bush hog. He was riding with his dad. I had never seen the ER stop everything that they were doing. Everybody came to check to see what was going on. Were you there that day?
I was not there that day.
I think it was Vaughn. I think I was with Dr. Vaughn that day. Yeah.
Yeah, kids, they've not lived, they've not had their lives, they've not met their potentials, and that's tough. That's always tough. So it's the double whammy. It's the loss of this young life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the parents are going to be devastated because no parent wants to bury their kid.
Mm-hmm.
So the pediatric ones are tough. They're tough.
Or you get to save a lot of kids, I assume, as well.
You do. You can save a lot of people. Yeah, I'm of the mindset that if it's not your time to go, then if it's not your time to go, then I'll be able to intervene. But if it's your time, there's absolutely nothing that I'm going to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And I recognize that, and I understand that, and that's part of the cycle of life. But if it's not your time, then I'll have the ability to intervene. And it's not that I've saved your life. We don't save lives, right? We just maintain the ones that are not ready to be gone.
I like that. Yeah.
And that takes the arrogance out of medicine.
That's another interesting mindset to invest and to have for yourself.
Yeah.
Right, I think. You're not playing God.
No, not even close.
I see myself as that I have the opportunity to be a tool of God's, right? No matter what you believe.
No matter what you believe in, right? No,
Right.
Yeah.
But I see myself as something that somebody comes across in their life, and everything that I've ever done in my entire life, everything they've done, we are in this unique moment where we have the opportunity to interject some of our life experience to try to help them the best that we can. So that helps me hold myself to a better standard when I'm getting the opportunity to practice and to learn, because I'm like, somebody might need me to step up.
What you just described, sir,
Mm-hmm.
was treating people like people, treating them humanely, reaching out to their humanity.
I would say that's where that comes from.
That's exactly what you just described, as opposed to treating them like a case, treating them like a disease.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
Yeah, the golden rule: treat people like you want to be treated. You treat it.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay. Bible, God. Interesting. Jesus Christ. Okay. So, and then I'm assuming residency was smooth sailing after that. Like nothing else went wrong. All good. And we're graduating.
Yeah, remarkably nothing else.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, happy brother, that was enough. That's why you keep going. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Remarkably nothing else went wrong.
Okay. So you're getting ready for graduation. You graduate, probably top of your class. You're chief at one point, maybe. Were you chief?
I was I actually got the Resident Teacher of the Year award.
I
love teaching.
love teaching. There you go.
Love teaching.
And so you did something a little bit differently after graduating residency that I found pretty intriguing.
Okay.
You went to get your MBA. You didn't go straight to practice. Or did you do them at the same time?
I did them at the same time.
Oh, okay. How does one do that? How do you balance?
You don't, but you just power through it. There's no balance. I was a full-time attending.
Yeah.
A full-time business student
In Chicago?
at the University of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So why did you go get your MBA?
My second year,
Yeah.
I was like, something is missing. There's a blind spot that I have. There's a knowledge base gap that I have. And I was trying to figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going into not knowing what you don't know, but also not feeling like you got to do everything by yourself. And as I was trying to work through this, I was like, I know what it is. I don't understand like money, finance. I understood the fundamental concepts of money. My parents taught me that.
Yeah.
So the fundamentals I knew. But I didn't understand. I was like, this just missing. And then I had a conversation with there was a resident who was a year ahead of me. And turns out that he went to business school before going into medicine. Had he done business and we talked and we became friends. He was literally in my program, in the ER program, he was a year ahead of me. And at that time I was juggling, do I do an MPH? Because that seemed like a natural and logical progression. But he was like, no, do the MBA. He says it gives you, it's a more diverse degree and it's more applicable across any discipline. The MPH, he was like, you're already a doctor. You want to be pigeonholed more in? He said, yeah, you can do policy.
And where was your head at? Were you, because I remember at one point you had said you had planned on just being a clinician, and just being happy with that. Did that change?
I didn't know any better. I planned on being a clinician, but I didn't know, again, this is where diversity comes into place, right?
Okay.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate to be in a place to where I could talk to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my residency program director, David House, once I settled on the MBA, I was like, wait, MBA? Never thought about it. Looked into it. I was like, oh, wait, University of Chicago. I'm already here. What are we talking about? This is like a top 3 program in the world. I'm already here. Why not?
Why not?
And
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? And I walked over there and I talked to, she was Jessica Bryant at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a dean of student affairs. And I told her, my story. You'd be a great candidate. You are non-traditional. Like, fantastic. This is great. What do I need to do? She said, you got to take a GMAT. I said, you take a GMAT like everybody else, bro. This university. She's like, you mean I'm a... She took step 3. She was like, yeah, we don't care about that. So this is ULC, baby. And I was like, okay, cool. I took my GMAT and I applied. And when I made the decision, David Howes was absolutely opposed to me doing it. He was like, shit.
Oh, this is your guy.
My residency director.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't do this. I understand. You're wasting your talent, blah, 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 blah. I said, I hear you, David, but I'm still get this little recommendation. He said, I'm going to write the letter. He says, but I just think that, maybe you.
And again, if you didn't have the mindset that I'm going to do, based on the information that I have, that this is what I want to do, what I'm interested in doing, a knowledge gap that I want to fill for my life and what I might want to do.
Didn't even know what I wanted. Didn't even know how I was did not understand what was behind those doors of that MBA. Had nobody in my family had an MBA. I didn't know anybody had an MBA except for one person. His name was Chris Kruger, and he was the resident of the you're ahead of me.
No,
but David, despite his protests, wrote me a fantastic letter of recommendation because he was like, you know what? I may not agree, but I believe in. If you believe in it, I believe in it.
Here we go.
Here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I got in. That was the most transformative experience of my life.
And you wouldn't have known.
And I would not have known.
Okay, so this is the most transformative experience. We got to dive into it. Why?
I learned an entirely different discipline that I otherwise would not have known anything about.
But you just built up. Was it 3 years at the time or 4 years in emergency medicine?
I did 3 years of residency.
Okay. So at that time, now you have a knowledge base. I'm assuming you did fine at your MBA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You have a knowledge base to apply to a field that you have specific knowledge about.
And that's the beauty of the MBA. I didn't know that was a possibility. And again, my MBA class was as diverse as my residency program. I was in the class with former CEOs. I was in a class. One of the dudes was a former Japanese Fed governor. Now, so you will attract this because this is a premier program. So you're gonna get those guys.
Former CEOs.
Yeah, it was insane. My professor, Roman Wheel, was the forensic accountant who basically figured out the Enron scandal. So you probably don't know Enron. So yes. So Enron was basically a company that actually sponsored the Houston Astros baseball field. Is in Texas.
Right.
And they basically participated in some unscrupulous accounting practices. But if you are an excellent forensic financial accountant whose textbook that we use in class, not the PowerPoint, not the syllabus, the actual textbook that is used at the University of Colorado and across multiple MBA programs, Roman Wheel, that was my professor.
Oh, okay. So you were playing with big dogs again.
Big dogs, all Rottweilers, all King Corsos.
Yeah, right. Here we go.
Okay, all King Corsos.
Okay, so I understand. And what did you gain from these professors?
It was just a wealth. When I tell you, it was a deep well of knowledge, and also a networking opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing for Jack Welch walked through my school. Jamie Dimon was walking through those. Like this is a well-regarded program,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it's well-regarded students in there, which means that once again, let's compete. Like, and let's get the rigor going. And it was a rigorous expectation there, but it was so good.
There's a lot of people talk about MBA like it's something you can like take very casually. You can do part-time.
You can.
Yeah.
I'm just not there. Just not there. But the first 6 weeks, if I'm honest with you, was challenging. Because
even with med school and everything else, or was it just the time?
Didn't matter. It didn't really matter because I'm learning a new discipline, and you're coming into a place with high rigorous standards, and they're dropping information on you with the assumption that you've been exposed before. I had not been exposed before. I was a biology chemistry major.
Yeah.
Went straight to medical school. Went straight to residency, and there was no financial accounting. There was no competitive strategy. There was no corporate finance. That none of these things, and those were just the fundamentals. So the first 6 weeks, it was a battle because I had to learn the language, and then in class, I got absolutely, thoroughly embarrassed by Professor Wheel, who asked me a question. And I had no clue what he was talking about because I'm trying to tread water, learning just to get up to speed to learn things that everybody else just knew. It would be the equivalent of someone not going to medical school and starting a residency.
Wow. Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds like you walk into an OR.
Yeah.
And you get to scrub in, but you are a pre-med bio major student. And then the surgeon starts asking you questions.
No. Let's, honestly, you walk into an OR and you're a high school student.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And the surgeon's asking you questions. And I got absolutely embarrassed. And the looks that I got from my fellow students was like, who's this guy?
Well, you just started.
There you go.
You just started some gasoline and
there you go.
But
I needed that. That's the one time I actually needed it. And I went home and I was a full-time attending. I had to adjust my clinical schedule. And I started doing blocks of shifts at certain times, getting off shifts, coming home and studying all night.
Mm-hmm.
And then days off, studying all day while simultaneously going to class, while doing these. And let me tell you what, after 6 weeks, by week 8, I was on their ass because I have the ability to learn. And I believe that I have the ability to learn.
And that's where the mindset.
When the mindset goes, I say, okay, why did you get embarrassed? Right? Because that's me getting embarrassed in front of people. I'll give shit about that. I don't care about that. Now, it was never going to happen again. Don't get it twisted. The reason I didn't care about it because that was my moment of constructive criticism. So I took that as to, okay, why did that happen? It happened because you were deficient in this.
Taking responsibility for your own shortcoming. Seven's blaming it on, this is such a hard course. This is such a...
So what can you do? Okay, what can I do to prevent that from happening again? Because if you hear my shortcomings, I know what my shortcomings are. What do I need to do? I need to reconfigure my clinical schedule. I need to reconfigure when I'm studying, how I'm studying, coursework, and make sure that those things, while both challenging and difficult, make sure that they're at least somewhat harmonious to achieve this goal. I know how to be a doctor at this point.
So that's going to take care of itself.
That's going to take care of
itself. Those time blocks are not necessarily a challenge.
Right.
Relatively speaking.
Now, I was a young attending.
Right. So there's still
stuff you gotta do and learn and achieve. But I had at that point, I had 4 years of med school, 3 years of residency. Bro, I got 7 years of that. Like at that point as an attending, if I don't know some things, I know how to step up and learn something. That learning curve is not as steep because of the trajectory that I previously was on. This learning curve for business school was steep because I had no baseline.
Yeah, because you weren't starting from here. You were starting.
I'm sorry, because so far back. Yeah. So that moment of embarrassment, which I interpret as constructive criticism, allowed me to be like, okay, what do we need to do? Let's reconvene and let's get on their ass.
I love it.
Let's get on their ass. And that's it.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it became like every other academic performance that I've ever had.
Done.
Let's get on their ass.
Okay, so you got on the A's.
Yeah.
And so you graduated MBA. And then did you have an intention of what to do with it? Or tell me how you...
So there was a fork in the road, my friend. There was, do I work in investment banking? Do I work in consulting?
Walking away from medicine?
That's what would be required to do those careers.
Right.
But because I had an advantage into those careers because of my clinical background. That MD is a super valuable degree. It's much more valuable than people recognize. Outside of treating patients, that MD can be leveraged like you have no idea. But I didn't know that until I went to business school. And I saw and learned and understood, wait a minute, I don't have to be just tracked into seeing patients. And there's nothing wrong with just seeing patients. I love being at the bedside. I'm still at the bedside to this day. Part-time. But still at the bedside, right?
Yeah.
And there's no substitute for that. Like I get no greater high than seeing people at the bedside.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like the challenge of different options and opportunities. And what business school showed me is that, bro, it's limitless out here. It's limitless. And the ability to combine those two, that's limitless. So it was, do I walk away from medicine, do the whole New York Wall Street thing, it's consulting at one of the big five, or do I do investment banking? But Christopher Krubert, who encouraged me to get the MBA, I again reached out because you don't feel like there's no need to do everything on your own. No need to make decisions on your own.
Yeah. Maintain relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I called him up and he was like, come to Atlanta.
Which we're in
We're in Atlanta now, yeah.
We're in Atlanta.
Come to Atlanta. There's opportunities for us to do things and grow. So I trusted him and I came to Atlanta and ultimately got into healthcare executive work. I got into immersive medicine contract ownership. I leveraged everything that I learned in business school, but also leveraged it in ND, put it together, and got into an industry that is fantastic. And I actually am doing it again now. I also had a brief exit from that and got into the telehealth space with a startup. Had an exit from that. And now I'm back doing the healthcare executive thing again. Kicking and screaming, I suppose. But the MBA opened up avenues and doors. And I also make movies. Executive produce movies, right? It goes back to something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
When you said that you have to be careful about the people that you are around.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my good friends, he was also a healthcare executive and super successful. During COVID, we had a company in which we had contracts with Netflix, Warner Brothers, and other movie houses, et cetera, et cetera. And we basically did medical control for them. And we were doing all the COVID testing for the movie sets because they were shut down. And we did all of the contact tracing and we did all of that.
And did that come from your experience producing movies?
No, this is prior to producing movies. This is how I got into movies. It was another business venture.
Yeah.
And he lived in Los Angeles, so he took care of the West. I took care of some of the East stuff. And because we have, of course, Atlanta has a large movie production houses here as well.
For now,
exactly. I was thinking about that when I saw that. And we did really, really well. We did things for Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart. It was insane. And I remember watching Dave when he filmed his one of his specials. We were in Detroit at the Fox Theater. I'm sitting next to the vice president at Netflix, and we're sitting there chilling, chit-chatting, and watching Dave go, right? It was a wonderful experience. But from there, we met one of our other partners who actually has a movie production company. And became friends and was like, hey, we got some scripts here. Would you guys be interested in, investing and, being executive producer and getting the EP credit and the residuals, and et cetera, et cetera? And we were like, sure, absolutely, why not?
And sure, absolutely, why not? In the background, never done this before.
Don't.
Oh, we will figure it
We'll
out.
figure it out.
It's cool.
It's cool. It's cool as shit. And we get to learn things, right?
Right.
Now, we get to learn something else. But again, I take those fundamentals of the MBA, and he takes his fundamentals from his healthcare executive journey, and he's a ER physician too. And we just sit down and put together, and you're like, all right, cool, we can do this. And we learned all about the movie industry, and we learned about production, and we learned a crap ton. And we are by doing. And when you're putting your own money into something, you tend to be a little bit more rigorous in your approach.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah.
When you put your money into something, so whether it's a telehealth, whether it's contracting, whether it's healthcare, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're willing to put your own money into it, your diligence tends to be there. So we learned, and it's been a great journey. It's been fun. But we've shot films in the countryside in London. We shot films in Malta. We've shot films in Oklahoma.
I called you one day, and you were either in Italy or you just got back from Italy.
Yeah, I was in Italy. Yeah.
And you love to do this. You love to casually just be like, "Yeah, we're in Malta shooting a movie at this set. What's going on, man?" I'm just supposed to. I'm over here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Just got off shift, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do a research year. It's great. Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Go do it.
Yeah, go do it. But still, the whole point of all of this is I just want someone to see, hey, there are other avenues, and if I can help, great.
Mm-hmm.
If I can help you be the best orthopedic surgeon you want to be, great. If I help you want to be the best entrepreneur you want to be, great.
But you don't have to do this alone.
You do not have to do this alone. That's a fool's errand. Do not do it.
No. And we could talk, I bet we could talk for a really long time about all the business stuff you've done since, all the business stuff that we are hopefully doing.
That's right.
In the near future.
That's right. Not hopefully. We are doing.
We are doing, and we'll figure it out.
Yes.
Yes. But that's why we had this conversation, right? I've never sat down with somebody for any kind of interview ever. I've just inhaled a podcast since I was 18.
Yeah.
So I hope I pulled off a Joe Rogan type.
You pulled off a Caleb E, right? You pulled off a Caleb E, and you be the best Caleb E that you can be.
I will try.
There's no competition. You are the best. I think that's a Slick Rick line, by the way.
Who's Slick Rick?
Slick Rick's a rapper, dude.
Oh gosh, I feel so uncultured.
No. I've seen your musical list. You're cultured.
Yeah, our Big L documentary.
Okay, you got it. There you go.
Yeah, coming soon. But I think again, we could talk all day about all the things, but it is getting late, and I think we've brought a lot of value to people. I think I just wanted to share that sentiment that you had just shared with me, which was, don't limit yourself in whatever you do, especially in medicine. It is not, if you're somebody out there that's listening that might be looking at this journey as you're in the thick of it, right? You're going through it and you're like, is this worth it? You could find a way to make a different way for yourself by saying yes to new opportunities, by figuring it out. In the meantime, you don't feel like you have to have all the pieces together, all the accolades, all the degrees, all the things before you say yes to the opportunities.
Right.
And then open yourself up to other people's perspectives. I think that's one of the biggest things from your story.
I would add, and we didn't touch on this, but I would definitely add that in your journey of medicine, while I understand that there are multiple opportunities and multiple avenues because of the path that I've chosen, what I fundamentally know is none of that is available if I was not good at the medicine. None of that matters if I was not good at the medicine. None of that matters if I didn't put the time into the academics that allowed me to do the med school, the residency, and then the residency, perform well in residency. Like if you, like your base has to be strong, right? Let's take LeBron. LeBron is probably the top 3, 4 players of all time. I'm not going to get into that debate.
I am holding back.
Okay, I'm not getting into it.
Well,
But
yeah.
let's take LeBron. Let's take Jordan. Let's take Magic Johnson, because they all have this in common. Okay, they were the best, respectively, at what they did at their job. Okay, and they fundamentally leveraged being the best at their job into something else. Jordan,
Steph.
sure, yeah, best shooter. But so Jordan leveraged that into ownership, into the Washington Wizards, ultimately ownership into the Charlotte Hornets, which were the Bobcats before the Hornets, right? And now has subsequently had an exit, and he owns, I think he still owns in the 30% or so, but he sold it for $3 or $4 billion. He only bought it for a couple of $100 million. Right? So you take Magic Johnson, who's absolutely best at his job, best in the NBA, best point guard of all time, very, very good at that. Took that, leveraged that into his Starbucks enterprises, leveraged that into all of his gyms, leveraged that into now ownership of, he had ownership of the Lakers. He divested, and now he's leveraged all of that. He's in a private equity group. Now he's leveraged that into ownership of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Washington Commanders.
I didn't know.
Oh yeah, he's in that ownership group. He's in that ownership group, and his own private equity businesses that he has.
And not to mention what LeBron's done.
LeBron is he's following along the same thing, right?
So he owns part of Liverpool.
Liverpool,
too, right? Yeah.
Boston Red Sox. And he has his production house, The Undisputed. So
Over to school.
the schools, right?
Yep.
So, but they all have in common, you have to focus on the initial part of what it is that you're doing, the initial part of your career, and master it and be the best at it. Because it's hard to leverage something that you don't have any recognition for being excellent at.
Don't put the cart before the horse.
Don't put the cart before the horse. So all the things that I've done, if I hadn't had the mastery in the medicine, there is no MBA.
Yeah.
There's no healthcare executive. There's no telehealth startup.
Right.
And there's no exit from both of those. There's no second career in healthcare executive management again. There's no movies. There's no COVID. There's none of this stuff. There's none of this stuff.
So without becoming excellent, holding yourself to that standard throughout college, medical school, residency, the challenge that you overcame there, MBA, working as an intern, the sacrifice it takes, I'm sure it was not easy.
Nope.
We won't get into it, but balancing that MBA rigor with becoming an attending. And you could have easily been very discouraged. If that mindset wasn't right, you easily could have been like, this ain't worth it.
This ain't worth it. It's too hard.
This is too hard.
Yeah.
But you sacrifice, and you wouldn't have known what was on the other side of that.
That's right.
If you had given up at any time.
That's right. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right. And now here we are on a Sunday afternoon where we have the time to talk for a long time.
Right.
Because you're not like, oh, I got to get up for this shift in 3 hours, right? Or I'm not working full time 4 to 6 days a week or whatever.
Right. Which takes us right back to something we talked about earlier in part of the conversation. Time. That is the ultimate flex. That is the ultimate freedom. It's not money. It's not money. It's time. Because I could lose all my money. I know how to make it back. I know how to make money.
Right.
Can't get time back. But what money does allow you to have is time. And that is ultimately where you need to get to, is time. Because I enjoy going to Malta. I enjoy cycling in Mallorca and in Dubai and in Provence and everywhere else. I enjoy those things because you want to get to a point where you are in enjoyment of your life. Because this is, if emergency medicine has not taught me anything, it's taught me this. Your life will end and you have no idea when. So enjoy it.
Every 24 hours is a gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Not at the expense of, I'm not saying at the expense of all of the lessons that we've talked about prior, right? But put yourself in a position to where you can enjoy it. And I don't mean put yourself in a position in your 60s, in your 70s. That's crazy because now you're significantly shortening your window.
And your physical state
Yeah.
to enjoy the
To
cycling.
enjoy.
Yeah, I'm sure you couldn't cycle in Malta as well
At 70?
at 70.
Well-
Hopefully that's the goal.
Well,
For you, right?
I can because at that time, I would have had probably 35 years of cycling because I was getting passed in Malta one upside of a mountain by some lady who was like 80 years old. She was like, "Buen dia." Gone. So long. Right. But she was great at what she did and she was consistent. Gotta have consistency, gotta have diligence, consistency, positive mindset, belief in yourself, the ability to accept criticism, willingness to make change, integrity, and everything will work out. Take that same approach into your personal lives too, not just your professional life.
The way you do one thing is the way that you do everything.
The way you do one thing is that way you do everything. Take that into your personal life as well. It will serve you well.
Okay. Well, I think that's it.
All right, man.
All right.
It was a pleasure. Likewise.
Yes, sir. See you around.
All right.